All right. So we're going to be talking about the King of the Yews, the Chakra versus the Cross. This is going to be an episode, basically, if you're getting a lot of kickback that's anti such and so. This is going to give you some context of who the Pharisees were expecting as their Messiah figure. So a lot of us don't know, but I'm going to be breaking it down for you today with modern symbolism, going back all the way into ancient cultures and what they thought of the Kabbalah, Masonry, if you guys already enjoyed the last episode. And it's also going to go into the Saturn cube worship and how they all interconnect with the cross. Um, yeah, and Christmas trees. So first, I just kind of want to lay this out because, again, I'm always trying to improve every presentation that I do with updating things when I get questions. And I was getting a lady in a DM. I don't think she actually bothered to watch the rest of the video. She just wanted to, chit chat. But she was giving me a little bit of what's wrong with appreciating nature? What's wrong with, no, 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 no. And just to give a little context, spiritually speaking, of in a way of an analogy, basically, when you start putting more emphasis on creation or the beauty that things are given to us, you're starting to worship the elements more than your creator. This is the analogy, is like, okay, say that, a lady marries a guy that is elderly, incredibly rich. But what are they marrying him for? They're loving the wealth, the substance, and the materialism. But simultaneously, they're devaluing the man's sense of worth by not appreciating his wisdom, his experience, and his character that got him to the point that he is. Similarly, that is what it's like when you're loving the creation more than your creator. In essence, it's like being married to the things of this world, materialism, while you're devaluing your creator God for the wisdom and love and character that he put into inventing everything in creation. What the occult does, or paganism, they emphasize we worship the elements more than our creator God. So I'm just throwing that out as a ground basis, considering that was a question. I thought that was relevant to just throw in there as a little bit of a caveat to consider. So, again, first thing, context is always important. What am I talking about with the you word? I'm not trying to be cheeky and try to, avoid censors here. I'm literally going to giving an emphasis on the you aspect because we always get that argument within the Christian community of, well, that's not really Jesus's name because the letter J didn't come around till like 14, 1500. So that's not really his name. It's actually a you. So, blah, blah, blah. So if that is true, where did the Jew word come from? And I'm not going to say that as a derogatory. I think it's a valuable question, but is there any evidence in the Bible that they might have been Yews with a Y instead of a J? Well, why would I be ever surmising this? Like, come on. Okay, let's first dig into this. And again, this is going to tap into Christmas trees. So I'm sorry, folks, just giving you some ground floor of why I'm giving this as a potential theory. But yew is a coniferous tree which has red berry-like fruits, in most parts which are highly poisonous. Yews are linked with folklore and superstition and can live to a great age. The timber is used in cabinet making and formerly was used in making longbows. Now, what is a conifer? If you were not aware, connects with pine cones. I'm just giving a little bit of a ground basis. If you want to go over to Truth to Faith podcast, I did a whole breakdown of particularly Christmas and pine cones affiliations. But just to give a little context, pine cones are affiliated with the pineal gland, and I'll be showing some visuals with that. And it's also connected with hearts. But to go a little bit more into the tree aspect of things, the Babylonians believed in the tree of truth, synonymous with the forbidden tree of knowledge mentioned in Genesis 2:17, and the tree of life, where also said to guard the eastern gate of the heavens. This cosmic tree was where the Babylonians' primal mother goddess lived, connecting to the underworld of Ereshkigal, the mortal realm of Enlil, the heavenly realm of An. The river the tree was placed against played a role as well, as the waters here were the home for Ea, the god of life. Since these symbols are exactly counter to God's notions of truth, life, and death in the heavens, this is why he forbids them and his people from including them in worship, supposedly honoring him. Now, I'm just, again, we always dig into what does the Israelites do? What do the Hebrews do? What I'm trying to present for you guys is what does the other side believe? Because if we don't understand that, we don't understand the modern occult. We don't understand the modern elites. We don't understand the secret societies and what paganism actually is. That's why I'm giving you some ground floor where it all started so you can understand what's going on currently in our world. Just to add a little bit more, but you might best know this symbol, the caduceus, as the DNA structure in healing used by the medical profession. Since ancient Mesopotamia, the caduceus presented two serpents intertwined, the central nervous system, around a staff, the spinal column, with the wings, the swan, on either side, the two hemispheres of the brain, which the circle in the center representing the pineal gland, or the central sun and psychic center within. It has also symbolized the Kundalini energy. This was originally the symbol for the Anunnaki, Caesarean creator god Ea, and Enki, the chief of the magicians. Make note of that. The symbol is also based on the winged globe for the planet of Nibiru, the symbol of the royal Anunnaki family. Enki's identity as Lord of the Earth, or in Earth, Enki, also known as Ea, whose house is water, is reflected in other names as well. Adonai, Ptah was where we get the Oscars from, little golden statues. Aton, Aten, Adam, Adam, and Amen. Now, this is going to break some people's hearts if you're watching the visual side of these things, but what we have here is a Babylonian depiction of two winged deities that are decorating a tree in the center, and it's a Kabbalistic framed tree. And I'm going to just give a little bit of a context because everybody tries to throw off Jeremiah 1 through 5 as not actually connecting to Christmas trees. You're kind of nah. But to give a little bit of a concept of how they used to think of things is when Adam first was made by God, it's alleged to lore that the first words that he uttered was way when God breathed into him. And that's how we get the creator's name. So every time you take a breath, you are saying your creator God's name. What the ancients used to affiliate trees with, particularly timbers such as cedars, were celestial channels to heaven. Why? They were gates to immortality because they contained oxygen, therefore eternal life. So they used to have this thing basing off of what I'm getting a little bit from Gary Wayne and what I've surmised is that they were seeing this as a way of channeling the avatar, the fallen Nephilim, Nimrod's family. And they were using this as a harnessing aspect of things. So when they made idol worship, they were harnessing a channeling aspect that would connect to the celestial realms. Whereas God's like, it's just an idol. There's no significance to it. But they were putting all this energy upon this thing. According to some of the questions I was asking Gary, he was stating that some of the wooden idols might have been able to talk. How? I don't know. I just bought his book, but he says he gets into it in there. But it was the one where was it Jacob's daughters and they stole their father's wooden idols when they started running away from him. But over here, did you know that the Bible is against decorating Christmas trees? The customs of the people are worthless. They cut a tree out of the forest and a craftsman shapes it with a chisel. They adorn it with silver and gold. They fasten it with hammer and nails so it will not totter. That's Jeremiah 3 through 4. Prior to that, we get Jeremiah 10, verse 2. Be not like the pagans who look to the skies and are in wonder and awe or terrified of them. This is tapping into star tree worship. Now, if you Google and or go on Amazon, you can look up the sigil of Astaroth, and you will find the pentagram, the five-pointed star. That is affiliated with Astaroth, Astarte, Ishtar, like Isis would be another equivalent. And oh gosh, I'm forgetting all of them, but they're all affiliated with the Queen of the Heavens. Queen of the Heavens, that is a term that you will find in Jeremiah. I think it's in chapter 44, maybe 7 in Jeremiah. And that is another name, moniker for Nimrod's wife. So basically, she was probably the first witch recorded, at least with humans, of the Bible. Nimrod's sigil was the six-pointed star of Remphan. But anyways, you can see here in Egypt, you can see in modern time, just showing all of that. Do you have any questions? I feel really odd when I'm talking to silence.
I'm just I'm making notes here and
Okay,
I'm with you. I'm with you, just like the audience is with you, Brandon. So have a
perfect.
have a drink and tell me about how I'm worshiping a Christmas tree. And like,
Now
oh,
I'm not trying to, I want people to understand is I'm not trying to throw you under the bus or anybody that did this thing because you didn't know. To him that knows it is sin, now it is. So if you're seeing this or hearing this now, my condolences, because now we're getting to the point in James where to him that knows. If you didn't know before, I'm just now giving you some context because a lot of us basically go to the extent of, well, it's just a Celtic tradition, it's just a Germanic tradition. I don't see what your problem. And Martin Luther, well, the Martin Luther one, I'd highly looking into Martin Luther's family crest. It's very Rosicrucian in nature.
hmm,
But give a little context about the Christmas tree. Christmas tree, the old pagan custom of bringing a living tree indoors in the middle of the dark months of the year and decorating it with candles and trinkets, was introduced to Britain by Prince Albert, the husband of Queen Victoria. The idea rapidly caught on, bringing evergreen vegetation in the form of trees, boughs, and branches from the outside to the inside was a magical ritual, a piece of sympathetic magic meant to encourage the return of spring and the growing season. The timing of the entrance and exit of the tree was critical. Any time before Christmas Eve was too soon for the tree to come inside, and all decorations had to be taken down and the tree removed by the 12th night, January 6th. Yes, that's significant that day that happened in America with the January 6th riots. We'll be touching that a little bit later. This tradition, however, does not seem to signify that the department stores who start display their artificial Christmas trees from September onwards. The Christmas tree is traditionally an evergreen tree, usually a spruce or a fir, which is cut down from the forest. The tree itself symbolizes immortality and everlasting life. The lights draped on it are as a reminder that during the darkest time of the year, lighter days are just around the corner. The Yule celebrations in Northern Europe were echoed in similar rituals in Southern Europe. The Roman god Attis, or Attis, was a savior god whose life story very much parallels that of Christ. Attis was born on December 25th to a virgin mother and was sacrificed to save mankind, killed beneath a conifer, pinecone tree, remaining for 3 days and nights in his tomb before resurrection. His priests, called dendrophyri, meaning tree bearers, were charged with selecting a conifer from a sacred grove that would be brought indoors in the memory of the death and resurrection of Attis, who is also linked with Apollo, the sun god. And that's from the book Elemental Encyclopedia uh, of Secret Signs and Symbols. I'm just chuckling because this is something where a lot of people are not equating the Babel aspect. And I had another individual saying it's kind of confusing, so I'll clarify it in this show. Is that basically Nimrod's family saw themselves as fleshly avatars, mankind avatars of all the fallen Nephilim and whatnot. And they basically saw themselves as avatars, like we're getting all the time now, of these fallen gods, Nephilim, call it whatever you will, these spirit beings. And where a lot of the Babel lore stems from, like after Babel, all the tongues and languages were confused. So what happens? All the best they have to communicate is signs and symbols. So it's
hmm.
the equivalent of how, like you were just talking prior to the show. It's the equivalent of they can speak to themselves through this secret language. It's like somebody doing sign language, and if you don't know all the letters that they just did, they just said a whole sentence, and you're just staring at them like, okay, what was that?
For
That is
sure.
how, yeah, that's how the occult speaks to each other.
Hmm.
The best they had after that with all the different cultures is variance and equivalence to try to explain different aspects and different interchangeable ideas. Nimrod and Tammuz were seen as reincarnated, reborn. So a lot of that can interfuse and change as you migrate. Sometimes you don't have the same plant and or surrounding things. So you make an equivalent of that. That makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going to say that it's important to know that, like, the more illuminated you get, like we are doing right now. No, no pun intended against the Illuminati, but the more that we learn about these things and the more aware we are, the more we realize that we are not our bodies, right? Like this body
Correct.
is the avatar. Like I know that I am not this body. I just
Right.
happen to be in this body, and that's to me, that's an amazing discovery. And
Hmm.
I feel for so many people out there who are really denying the fact that we live in a spiritual realm.
Yes.
We really do. And I did have one question for you, Brandon, on the
Sure
fly.
thing.
Do you think that the menorah is similar to the Christmas tree? Like, is that like an idol worship? Like it's a, you know, the Jewish people, they light a candle every night for Hanukkah, and
Right.
that's
Right.
to me that was always like the, you know, I don't want to sound ignorant, but to me that was the Jewish Christmas tree. It's that thing that's in the house, and you are, you know, you're, I guess you're kind of honoring each day, right?
Right. Um, I was answering that in a different variation because they were asking me about the fish symbol from early Christians and church and stuff like that.
Sure, yeah.
Um, Personally, what I've heard, what I've researched, I can't give 100% guarantee if it's been tainted since, but what I heard was that it has 7 points to represent the 7 days of creation.
Okay.
So if it is going by that, I personally say no. Um, but to even tap into what you were saying, because a lot of people are asking me about, oh, should I not wear a cross? It was the fish symbol bad. So what I would suggest is, guys, like just like God created the world 7 days, he didn't do it through symbols. He didn't do it through signs. He said it through the word. What do we get with Christ? The word was made flesh. So what basically I would suggest, as opposed to wearing a symbol, start emulating it yourself. You are the light. You are that temple. You don't need a symbol or a religious relic or something to emulate that, because it greater is he that is within you. So I think when we as Christians are starting to affiliate symbols with our testimony, we start tapping a little bit into the occult. Again, is our intentions wrong? Not necessarily. But when you start, you know, holding up a cross and then start doing a little bit like an exorcism or something like that,
Hmm.
I think that's when you're starting to put your emphasis on the symbolism and not focusing on the Holy Spirit that is within you.
Uh, I I'm with you on the Christmas tree, and but at the same time, I'm almost like flat Earth stuff. It's like some people just can't handle it and they'll just turn away. And to me, it's like, you know, that's like my childhood, and
Mm,
it's like, would I change the tradition knowing what I know,
right,
right? And
right.
I know what my intentions are, and you know that I'm a decent guy, and I don't have bad intentions. It's not like I bring one. Yeah, I would say one of the things that I've really learned recently is symbols and relics, and not worshiping them,
Yes,
not praying to them. Like, God is, you know, I talk to God, you know, try to speak out loud once in a while, even though I'm a little bit embarrassed here and there to do that.
right,
And,
right.
but you know, like there's lots of times where I speak to God in my mind, and yeah, it's just really interesting, all these things. And and I think told you this last time too, man. 99.9% of people, they don't even know what they're doing half the time, right?
Yes,
So it's really interesting to remind them, and then it's up to them to do what they will with this information, right?
correct.
Yeah. So sorry.
And I think no, no, that's all good in context because I'm going to be building up to that.
Okay.
Um, because again, when it gets cut into part two or whatever, I'm building up to that because I had an individual saying that he's really burdened because he knows the truth, but his wife is being very stubborn with the
Hmm.
tradition aspect. I'm going to be building up to that. I'm going to show you what they believe, and then when you as a Christian are doing that, how that's insulting God,
Sure.
and it's not going to be just sorry.
And I was going to say too, like once we start digging into the calendar and the actual days that were and probably are,
Mm,
dude, we're doing like everything wrong. If you think about it, right? Like New Year's, Easter, Christmas, Jesus wasn't born on December 25th.
correct.
I would say like anybody who even believes in Jesus, I would say 50% of people know that our calendar is BS,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
rest are just willful. Like there's so much, right? We are like totally in this insane matrix, right? Where
Yeah.
it's like we got one foot in and we got one foot out, and we're just trying to figure out like how to live in this properly, right?
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's the sad part. That's the sad part is a lot of us don't understand, and that's what I'm trying to relay is that Christ had a pagan doppelganger. This was the Messiah that they wanted.
Mm.
And again, it's Nimrod's son Tammuz. Here we go with another slide. For his presence and power to reign supreme, phallic symbols and fire should be lit to honor him. The supposed child of that union is Horus. He has other several variants of Hermes, you might call him. You might call him Horus. You could call him Baphomet. I'm just trying to clarify that for a lot of people because if you automatically say that's Satan, you're not really getting to the core of who they see as their Messiah figure. By the time you're done with this, you're going to be like, I see it now because I'm going to be taking that veil off of your eyes. Sorry. So the post child of this union, Horus Tammuz, the reincarnated Nimrod. Semiramis claimed, the wife, a full-grown evergreen tree sprang out from the roots of a dead tree stump. This symbolized the springing forth of new life for Nimrod. On the anniversary of Nimrod's birth, December 25th, she said that Nimrod would visit the evergreen tree and leave gifts under it. This is the genesis of the Christmas tree, the symbol of Nimrod. This equates to approximately 9 months after Easter, or the date Ishtar became pregnant with Tammuz. So, like I was even trying to relay, it could either be Tammuz, it could be Nimrod. I don't know which one, but I'm leaning on the Tammuz aspect. But because of the reincarnated, regenerated aspect of their religion, it could be either or. But I'm leaning on the Tammuz because it's the doppelganger. Tammuz would be another equivalent of this Attis and Apollo character as well. So if we've already know about Ash Wednesday, but just give a little context of how this interconnects. Ash Wednesday is the mark of Tammuz. Long before Christ's crucifixion, the cross symbolized the Babylonian god Tammuz, who was killed by a wild boar. In his honor, women spent 40 days weeping for him, the origins of Lent. Therefore, the ashes placed on the forehead or third eye, your pineal gland, is not a biblical tradition. Rather, it's symbolic of the sun god, whose name in Greek is Apollo. Tammuz was hailed as the son of the sun, and his first letter of his name became, in time, the symbol of sun worship. So when you're wearing a cross, remember this. Human sacrifices to the sun god were offered on this initial letter, made of wood, known as the cross. His birthday, December 25th, was honored more and more, and the first day of the week was called the Sun's Day, or Sunday. The people forgot God's Sabbath and honored the day of the sun. This was changed by Emperor Constantine, I believe, in 337. So, yes, he is the originator of papacy, whether they like to say yes or no. Just to give a little bit more context, like I said, I will find the books if you support me, and I found the Cult of Sol Invictus, and the name for sun priests in Rome originally, pontifices. They wear a little kippah that connects back to Egypt with sun god worship as well. So you kind of already see, oh, okay, so there's a little bit of that doppelganger aspect. When they're allegedly doing the sign of the cross, that is actually the sign of Venus and like the pentagram. Because it was alleged, this is why we get the mythos that Eve ate an apple. It's because when you cut an apple in the half, it's said that it cuts you, she can see 5 points on it. So that is representing the 5, the number of man, which is 3 for male with the extra digit, and then 2 for female when you merge the two together. So it's a perverse union symbol. But also when you're doing the sign of Venus, that is like you just said, the calendar. That's the sun cycles of the equinox. So when you're doing ding, 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 you're doing a sun sign of, I'm worshiping the sun god. Son of God worship, Sunday worship.
I also saw something where, I've been to Catholic church and you touch your forehead, you touch kind of like almost like your sternum, right? And
Yes.
then you go here, here. And it's like,
Mhm.
oh, I didn't realize it's almost like an inverted cross too.
Correct.
And it's like,
The
oh,
cross,
wow.
it's Venus, but again, this connects to Kabbalah and whatnot. This is what I'm trying to warn and caution Catholics who they'd rather bash me and defend the denomination as opposed to digging in and trying to find this information. Um, they are they're worshiping a sun practice, a counterfeit Christianity, and that was intentionally done. Mithraicism. Just bought like 5 more books on this thing because I want to make sure I get my facts straight. I'm
Mm.
quoting exact things. I'm fighting passages that connect all the way back to Elijah, man. It's crazy, and
Do you
all the way
think
to Christ.
do you think Catholicism got hijacked along the way?
Yes. I mean, in its inception, it was created by Yews, crypto Yews.
Okay.
because it's very, I think a good book to buy on this is by a guy who went formerly to a Jesuit college and he backed out. He says the same for me because he
Mm,
was seeing all the handwriting on the wall. And he wrote a beautiful book called Solving the Mystery of Babylon the Great. His name is Edward Hendry, Hendrie. About 300 something pages, but he breaks this all down and explains how it's very much designed like the Jewish Sanhedrin with how the Catholic Church is designed. Catholicism then in turn created Islam. Now there's going to be a lot of kickback saying that's not true, but there was a Jesuit priest that came forward, Joseph Rivera, and he admitted that they had one of Muhammad's wives was basically the, what do you call it? I know the equivalent of a CIA operative
mm.
acting as the emissary in between. And you'll notice the prayer beads. You'll notice that a mosque and a Catholic church are always next to each other. One is rescuing the masculine, one's representing the feminine.
Interesting.
So
It's the sun
again,
and the moon, right?
duality.
The sun and the
Right.
moon. Yeah,
Correct.
that's very
Correct.
that's very interesting. I mean, to take it back to like a flat earth thing, it's I have my silver bullets for flat earth, and there should be silver bullets for the synagogue of Satan as well. It's like
Yes.
you present these five or six like silver bullets to a Catholic and say like this is the synagogue of Satan. These are the things you are not allowed to do, and just watch their brain fry, right? Like
Yes.
they won't be able to. I don't think that they would be able to handle it.
Many can't. A lot of them have been insulting me for the last few days under a Russell Brand post, and I said I didn't even go after. I just said Catholicism's not real Christianity or whatever, and I called out Russell because he has like a 33 tattoo.
Yeah.
He's done the eye thing, but nobody's asked for the proof of like, are you sure he's in? Nobody's asked me that, but they're all defending the adjective, and I'm like, guys.
He's a very
Anyways,
interesting character to prop up. Like that's somebody you just wouldn't like at the beginning of the pandemic, he was saying all the right things. He was saying all the
mhm.
things I wanted him to say, and I was super pumped. And knowing what I know now, it's like, oh my goodness, total controlled opposition. I just find that he is an odd choice for controlled opposition.
Charisma, and he also dated a Rothschild prior.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but I have a photo where he's kissed Yuval Harari.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kissed him
Satan's
on the
butt
cheek
plug.
while he was holding his book. I was like, "That's Schwab's #1 advisor." What the dude?
So I was telling Skippy a quick story that I had new Yuval Harari's book on my bookshelf before I really knew who he was. It was
Right.
called Homo Deus or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I'm reading this. I'm like, what the f is this guy talking about? And I just closed it up and I left it there. And recently, I hate the guy so much. Like honestly, I don't mind saying that I hate Satan's little gay butt plug. I'll say it on the air here. And I actually took his book, I threw it in the compost, and then I cleaned up the spring cleanup in my backyard of all my dog's crap, and I like threw all of the crap on top of the book and then sent it to, the dump or whatever. That's how I feel about him. So I thought that was pretty symbolic. I thought that was a great gesture. So, shout out to Yuval. Your book's somewhere in a dump with my dog's dumps on you.
Wow, talk about a review. Oh, dang, man, that's good. That is good.
Yeah.
Anyways, we have here the eyes. They are the symbol of Tammuz, and it's not just solely our eyes. They're talking about third eye as well.
Hmm.
Tammuz is another one of those months with no holidays, and this would be original calendar when we have the 13. But
Hmm.
this would be between any time if you're going by zodiac, May 21st, May 20 something around there to June 20 something. This is the month of Tammuz.
Geminis.
Um, yep. Except with a minor fast and no real practices associated with it. At least not any that I found. This makes a lot of sense when you think of the Jewish wheel of the year in relationship to the Gregorian cycles. The summer months are where there is too much work to be done in the field, sowing, tilling, planting, and harvesting. Even though there isn't a specific practice we can associate with Tammuz, there is a theme. It's vision and eyesight. Tammuz is a month that challenges us to really see what's in front of us and focus. If vision is the theme, then eyes are the symbol. The practice for Tammuz then is to see. Open your eyes, pineal gland, look at the world around you this summer, and try to appreciate the wonder. Very much the founding father of Gnosticism, as I'm going to show you. So when Israel kept falling away, I'm laying out the ground foundation all the way up to the time that Christ was crucified to modern day Z's. You guys are going to see it, and when I do, you're going to say I'm sorry, because now you're going to understand context. You're not just going to be doing things and you didn't know what you were doing. That's my greatest thing is in Hosea. That is a very sad verse. It says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge." And then he goes about saying, "And I won't allow you to be my priest because you rejected the knowledge." So take God's warning through the prophet and try to apply what I'm going to be giving you, because I'm not trying to give it out of malice. I'm trying to give it out of love so you understand the world around you. So let's keep going. The black cube in Mecca in the occult is called the hyper cube. It represents mind control. That's why the TV is black, also your phone, and the cube shaped. The graduation hat is black cube with it. It also represents mind control. When Muslims walk around the rings, the representation of the Saturn rings. Its rings represent. Saturn Satanism is what you're giving your energy to. Same with Christianity. The cross, when it is folded up into a cube, means more mind control. Same with all other religions based on Satanism and created by the dark occult. Now, they have this over in Mecca. Allegedly, what occurred is that they were given this little black meteorite that was given to Abraham, and it's like some sacred star. So they put a little box around it because it's sacred. And they have this in Kabbalah. Kabbalah in Hebrew basically translates to tradition. And they have those little black prayer boxes. So we think it's a good thing. And it's like, no, that's black cube Saturn worship. We're going to get to that as we keep going. It also connects to the Star of Remphan, which was condemned in Amos, Old Testament, and Acts 7:43 when Stephen the Martyr was challenging the Sanhedrin. He makes reference of that, and this made them very furious. To give a little bit more context to how this would connect to the foundation of beginning of Catholicism, this black cube was in Emesa, Syria region of the world, and Alagabal, or Elagabalus, one of the crazy emperors, he was a sun priest in this region, and he decided when he became a emperor to bring this over, and he would drag this black star through the streets with 4 horses, and he would give it its own chariot, and he like what basically walked backwards in the procession and like leading it. If you guys didn't know, that's the origins of BlackRock, the company that owns a lot in our world today. I'm going to be doing a whole episode breakdown specifically on that, but just giving you a little context. This kind of pissed off Rome because, as opposed to, how shall I say this, being delicate with introducing his Eastern way of thinking, he was imposing it, basically trying to immediately replace all the equivalent gods that were in Rome. And so they basically were like, all right, 3-4 years of you. They got rid of them. So about 2 emperors go by, 40, 50 years, and we get Aurelian. Aurelian comes in, and he basically says, okay, we don't need the Black Rock. That was already shipped back after Lagabald died and was assassinated. And so he just says, the sun god's going to be here. We're not going to impose it on anybody, but the Roman legionnaires seem to really appreciate Mithra. So we're just going to have his statue alongside everything. And gradually over time, it merged into Attis, it merged into Helios, it merged into Apollo, and it just became the #1 sun god. So all the rays outside of the sun were all beholding to the one in the center. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was just going to ask you,
Yes,
Brandon,
sir.
quickly, if you've heard, I heard the conspiracy theory that the black thing in Mecca is supposed to be like Mount Meru, and it's supposed to like signify almost like Polaris, where the people of Islam are the stars and they go around Polaris. Now, this is an interesting take on the Saturn. I've never heard this take with it being Saturn. I've heard the take where it's like Polaris and all this, and the people are like the stars going around it. I don't know if you've heard that version.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry. I thought you were gonna keep on going. Um, yes, I would say you're very. I think that's actually how the Antichrist is going to unite all the world religions. I think it's going to be some event after a Project Bluebeam and Anunnaki returning space gods, aliens, whatever you want to
Hmm.
call them.
Hmm.
They're going to come back and they're going to basically start pitching the thing as like, oh yeah, but you need to give your energy because we came from the stars and this, you go here, blah blah blah. And if you go to the Masonic Lodge that was founded, I believe, in 1953 in Israel, you will find that it has the Islamic moon, it has the Christian cross, and it has the Star of David all in the logo. And I was chuckling to myself 'cause I said, okay, if you're going to unite all the world religions and one of the biggest companies that owns everything in the world is known as BlackRock, that might have some credence into this star religion. Now,
Hmm.
why would I suspect this? Well, angels in ancient Hebrew were known as star walkers. That's very interesting. Yes, that's where Luke Skywalker gets his inspiration. That was the original name.
Hmm.
And so
Star
when they
Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
see my post on that,
I didn't
Moloch,
know.
yeah, Moloch means basically comes from Mol in Sumerian, which means star, and Baal means Lord.
Mm,
So when
there
you
you
merge the
go.
two, Star Lord. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, huh?
Thanks, Marvel.
Yeah, I was doing one on Chris Pratt. A lot of people were upset with that one.
Oh yeah.
Anyways,
Space is fake, by the way.
oh yeah, yeah. But they're this is how they're going to again. It's inverted. Again, it's
Right.
inverted where it's like we worship the stars, we worship astrology, Astroth, astronaut, astro, star, not, as in nautical, relating to water.
Mm.
Like, guys, they literally are taunting you with the name that they gave it and saying, yes, there's water above. But yes, they're over here going to emphasize, and again, what did Easter Elon Musk, Babylon Musk, name one of his companies? Starlink,
Mm.
Nero Link, your brain and your star. Collecting to who? Well, his logo is a falling star in an X formation. X equals Osiris, regeneration, reincarnation. Very interesting. But then Nero, your brain, where your heart and your mind is, there where you're going to be. Oh, yeah. And Starlink, you're connecting now to a star. I don't know, but if I could be so bold, it certainly sounds like an empire of iron and clay, and you're going to be worshiping Star. And again, what does it say? One of the false prophets. It's going to be signs from the heavens. Just saying. So I'm pitching that what they're possibly looking into doing is creating the Nephilim, because say so God has his kit children, and we're all made in his image, but only those who accept him are actually, those are the ones he accepts. He's giving us our soul for a celestial passage to past the firmament, because he unlocked that with the key, as we explained in the last episode, by being baptized. And what are they getting in exchange? Well, they love their kids too, the fallen angels, fallen watchers, whatever you want to call them. They want their kids to have bodies back because they've been roaming around for 70 generations. How are you going to do that? I would suggest Mark of the Beast, and then you get a demonic possession grid like the Matrix, and Mr. Smith can go through anybody. You
Hmm.
signed it, you wanted materialism, and in exchange, we get bodies back and we
So
get our
that's
souls in heaven. Yeah, it's
I think that's
crazy.
super interesting because it's like it's hard enough to possess somebody. I feel like in order to be possessed by an evil spirit, you need to allow that spirit to possess you. Now, if you do
Yes.
this whole Neuralink thing, you maybe don't know it, but you are giving permission for these things to enter you then more easily, right? Not just using
Correct.
Ouija boards and summonings.
I think what I'm going to try to explain is that they believe in ascending. So I'll just throw this out now because we're talking about pineal gland. What is pineal gland? Pineal gland talks about ascension. So what are they going to be? So yes, you will be knowing what you're doing because what was the line that we get from Isaiah 14:14 with Lucifer? I will rise to be like the God Most High.
Okay.
I can ascend if I just unlock my God consciousness. So you will know what you're doing. You
Mm.
just won't understand why you're doing it. Just like with symbolism. That is the lie. Whereas Christianity, we do understand because if we have the Holy Spirit, like I explained, you have the gift of discernment. You will see it. And if you tap into the Holy Spirit, because he gives generously wisdom to those who ask of him, it says that in the Bible, folks. I may not know exact verse and reference, but you know what I'm talking about. Google it.
Sure.
But,
And there's definitely different levels of awakening too, right? I mean, that's why I would say 99.9% of people don't know what you're saying right now.
mm-hmm.
And it's important to talk about these things and at least air it
Yeah.
out and have more conversations, right? Spread at least the seed of these ideas and these topics. And I mean, yeah, To me, that's important to keep learning. And I would say
Yes.
I'm very rare. I would say most people my age just work and turn on Netflix and
Yep.
that's it, man. They're just living the hamster wheel.
And again, like a dead hamster, they just sit there. There's no life. And that's the thing with the Holy Spirit. What is that? It's a living word. So if you are now his temple while he is gone, you're his representative, not the Pope. What are you doing? The word became flesh. Greater is he that is now within you. So what are you doing? These people are thinking they can ascend and tap into their third eye consciousness, whereas Christ is saying you need to submit, you need to sacrifice the things of the world, be set apart. That's what Christians means, or saint means set apart. Why? So that the world acknowledges there's something different about you. Why? Because you are submitting to your heavenly Father, which a lot of the world doesn't know how to do. Anyways, pineal gland, symbolism. Well, we have the staff of Osiris, and there's a little pine cone on top of that with two snakes intertwined. The staff of Dionysus with the pine cone, and the staff of Bacchus with the pine cone. You also notice that the Pope is carrying a staff with a pine cone on it. Over here on the right side, we have the same thing with the Babylonian god Tammuz with a pine cone in his hand. And on the right of that, we have a falconed bird winged deity that was found in Ecuador with a pine cone in his hand. So we're talking a couple thousand of something miles, and yet it's consistent that they believe this.
Hmm.
How is this so? Well, pineal gland, you might note, it looks kind of like Thoth's eye or the all-seeing eye of Horus. Looks just like that. Next slide will give a little bit more detail.
Hmm. I
The
never
pine cone,
noticed
or
this pine cone before. I'm surprised. I've never noticed it.
uh-huh.
Hmm.
And that's the thing. It's right in front of us, and most of us don't see it. That's the sad part, is that they can literally throw it right in your face, and you're just going,
Hmm.
sad.
Yeah, like the golden symbol on the right with the two snakes and the wings. I've never
Yeah.
noticed I noticed that there's a scepter, but I never noticed what the top was. It's
Mhm.
interesting. Hmm.
That also would connect to the cosmic egg shaft that's on Baphomet's head, the little center part that goes up. That's what that would also would represent.
Okay.
So when you have that, the cosmic egg, when you have the eye on top of a pyramid, when you have the all-seeing, sorry, the all-seeing eye on top of a pyramid, when you have a star on top of your tree, what does that all represent? The highest achievement of mankind, the Tri-Hermes, Christ pagan doppelganger Tammuz. Again,
Hmm.
I'm going to be confirming it. You guys, if you're watching the visual, you'll see it. If you're hearing, just pay attention. Oh, another one. Pine soul. Pine, connecting with immortality. Soul, as in Sol Invictus, sun god. I was like, wow, it's right in front of us. I was literally just cleaning the other day and I was like, ah, shoot. Even on a little bottle, like, what the heck, guy?
My coffee tables never smelled so good.
Right? um, Now I have to do an exorcism with holy water.
Right.
We all have a pineal gland located in the center of our brains, pine cone shaped, hence its name. The pineal gland was once considered a vestigial remnant of a larger organ, the third eye. The pineal gland is the only midline brain structure that is unpaired as goes, tucked in the grove where two halves of the thalamus join, sitting thus precisely between two hemispheres, behind the third ventricle. It personifies the abstract occult concept that we find our center and balancing of duality. Rene Descartes believed the pineal gland to be the principal seat of the soul and viewed it as the third eye. Descartes attached significance to the gland because he believed it to be the only section of the brain to exist in a single part rather than one half of a pair. And we can see over here on the right, it connects very similar to the Sumerian tree of life, which we've already discussed, staff of Osiris. And you also see it on the caduceus. And on the caduceus, it's utilized today and can be found on ambulances, hospitals, and throughout the medical profession. It is also the insignia for the American Medical Association. And Ida and the Pingala, or the Kundalini, shown here, interweaving up the rod, identical to the DNA double helix. And yes, this does connect to C19 and all the issues that we had there.
Mm.
I'll be showing how that connects as we get towards the end.
Just a
But anyways,
conspiracy theory. Just a
uh-huh.
conspiracy theory.
Oh, it's not even conspiracy. They literally give you the names. Dude, it's like, guys, you made this so obvious. Um, Kundalini is divine energy within all. When resurrected, healing of body, mind, and soul take place. Here, the transformation of consciousness from the lower three dimensions of reality into the divine cosmic consciousness of the eternal oneness takes place. The symbol of the serpent climbing the tree of life is in each of us and our transformation. It is the symbol of divine awakened within, attaining a remembrance of knowledge of self. That's Mizna. Just showing again, you see it in all the cultures around the world. You see the Pope wearing the fish god Dagon cap that you also see in the Vatican. I'm going to be zooming in and doing 2 slides just on that. On the little pine cone fountain. And you see over here in India, the little guy with the pine cone like hair do. It's on top
Mhm.
of these phallic monolith like structures.
Is that a Buddhist thing?
Buddha,
Yeah,
again, it connects all to the same core. Um, Here's a little trivia for you. Did you know that pine cones used to be given out prior to hearts for Valentine's Day?
I did not know that.
I did an episode
Hmm.
on this with Truth to Faith. And
Oh.
this is recorded all the way up to like the early 1500s that a young man was handing it to a lady he loved. And why? Because my heart and my mind, I love you. So it was given in exchange of hearts. The actual sigil of a heart actually connects to Baal worship.
Hmm.
Yeah. Pine cone. So again, we're seeing the interconnective link of, oh, where your heart is, there will your mind be also. I test the hearts and minds of men to see if they love me. I think that's Jeremiah 17:9 through 10. So we're seeing a lot of like God's already saying, like, yeah, I know where your heart and mind is, and you're worshiping the stupid elements as opposed to me.
I'll have to ask my daughter if
Um,
they're teaching her this in Catholic school.
Probably not. If anything, she's going to be teaching them some things.
Oh man.
Um, the Fontana del Pigna is simply a Roman fountain, which now decorates a vast niche in the wall of the Vatican's facing the Cortel della Pigna, but located in the Vatican City in Rome, Italy. Composed of a large bronze pine cone, almost 4 meters high, which once spouted water from the top. The Pigna originally stood near the Pantheon near the Temple of Isis. It was moved to the courtyard of Old St. Peter's Basilica during the Middle Ages and then moved again in 1608 to its present location. The courtyard where it stands was originally believed to be Cortel del Belvedere, designed by Donato Braminetti to connect to the palace of Pope Innocent VIII with the Sistine Chapel. So that's kind of interesting that what was you talking about in the beginning? Water with Ea and Enki and Elingladesh or whatever. All those pagans, and now they're affiliating a pine cone with this, and Isis, Temple of Isis. Queen of the Heavens is another name for Isis, also another virgin goddess, allegedly. Mother of Horus, which connects with the Tammuz aspect of things.
I was just gonna say that if anybody's named Pope Innocent, it's a red flag. They're not innocent.
Oh, yeah. Well, the first time I did this with Cliff, I was like, innocent in my butt because I was laughing when I was reading it. I'm innocent. Yeah, sure. Um, But over here we have Tammuz or the magician. That's what the magician is, the tarot card. You'll notice that he's pointing upwards with like a little rod staff in his hand. He has
Yeah.
the Ouroboros tilted over his head. You have a little pentagram on the table. But you notice anything particular?
The
White
first thing I
tunic.
noticed was the
Yeah.
as above, so below. That was the
Oh, there
first
you
thing I
go.
noticed.
Good, because we're going to be tapping into that. But yes, exactly. But he's wearing a white tunic and a red sash, just like Christ, as they always depict him for us. So
Yeah,
they're
that
already
was for
programming
sure.
us.
For
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
So we have Aleister Crowley's tarot deck with Thoth, and again, a Ouroboros. Thoth is also the Egyptian equivalent of Hermes. That's the Greek. So I'm just pointing everybody that it goes right back to Nimrod's son Tammuz. And below that, we have, of course, the all-seeing eye, which connects to Horus, and you have the eagle. I'm going to be showing how that connects in just a moment. Um, but I was laughing because he's known as the magician, but we have over here the staff, the Thyrsus, and Thoth, Fool tarot card. A magician, and then you have the Fool. What does a magician do? He fools you under an illusion,
Mhm.
spell. And I'm just showing how the staff connects to a magician. Over here, we have the Sephiroth, which is a Jewish Kabbalistic tree of life. And then on the right side, we have the caduceus. And you notice when you lay the caduceus on top of the Kabbalah, it interweaves perfectly on the Kabbalistic tree of life, ascending. You see how it matches with the Sumerian caduceus, again on the bottom left, and Aaron's rod, and Sanskrit on the far right with the chakras. So it's all interconnected, even though we say, no, that's a different religion, that's a different faith. No, it's all interconnecting. And what is the ultimate thing? You shall ascend. What was the lie in the Garden of Eden? You shall be like gods. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
He wants his followers.
I
Yeah.
was just gonna ask you if Aaron's rod is like Aaron, like as in Aaron and Moses.
I think so, but I think they're just showing that as in why. I'm going to be doing a reveal as to why that was the first trick. Like I explained before verbally, I'm going to be showing why this was the first
Magic
not
trick, right?
stunt. Yeah,
Yeah.
magic trick, whatever. God, the reason God chose that particular, we're using this. Why? You're going
Mm.
to see Moses, you know. And it's likely that Moses already had like the 33 degrees. That was kind of the irony of him turning back. They're just like, oh, okay. So then he started pulling stunts, and they're like, we don't even know how to do that.
Yeah.
But again, the evolution of medicine. I think there's the verse in Revelation 18:23 where it's talking about the nations were deceived by their sorceries, and root word for that was pharmakia, big pharma, much, yeah.
Right.
And the dollar sign tapping to the staff of Asclepius, whatever. Um, you notice that it's actually the snake wrapped around the staff as the dollar sign.
Mm-hmm.
But just tapping it a little bit into Hermes, by the 6th century BC, Hermes was portrayed as having a staff known as the caduceus. This was a symbol of peace and was meant to demonstrate that the herald Hermes, who was the inviolable deity, originally the caduceus was a rod or simply an olive branch, just like the eagle clutches in one of its claws. These were intertwined with garlands, which is an equivalent of crowns, or ribbons. Later, these became serpents in the iconography of Hermes. The caduceus was shown winged and entwined with two snakes. This was to symbolize the speed of the herald of the Olympians. The snake was highly symbolic in the ancient world, and many indicate the divinity of Hermes. Over time, the staff began to represent all the trades and professions associated with the gods Mercury and Hermes. It was also used to symbolize the planet Mercury in late antiquity. Hermes was believed to have invented coinage, so his staff was often used to symbolize commerce. Considered a great orator, Hermes and his caduceus became the symbol of orators. I found it very interesting that he's affiliated with coinage because Nimrod's son, New World Order, they want a digital New World Order. Break down the
Mm-hmm.
word digital. Digi means like temporary, basically, and tal means rain or wet. I think it was in Hebrew. So just laughing like a short rain, short. And what fell on 9/11, Alex?
The towers,
The World Trade Centers.
right?
That was coronation day for their Messiah. He's here, folks.
Mm.
He's here. But again, for people getting a cranky and say, "Oh, that's not the caduceus staff. It's actually the Asclepius, and it's basically its cousin. It still represents healing at the end of the day, despite all your little arguments. It doesn't help. It's the same thing. But you'll notice,
I was just talking to somebody the other day, a normal
yeah,
person, and they actually believe that 9/11 was not an inside job. It kind of like blew me away. So I just said, like, I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. Just look at Tower 7. See ya.
yeah,
Because
the Tower 7 was
Tower
very
7 is such a
significant.
linchpin, right? That's such a linchpin to everything. If I mean, that's totally controlled demolition. Sorry, we're getting off track here, but
No, I have a whole episode. I'm building up to that if you guys want me back in April, but it builds up to why that was significant. Building 7
sure, it's
very much
just.
needed to fall.
But it is the point is so crazy that there's actually people out there that don't realize, right? Like people still think that like Apollo 11 was real, like they went to the
Right,
moon. I'm
right.
like, really? That's like day one. That's the first. That's how I gauge people now. It's like 9/11 and the moon. If you don't know those things, you are not even like dressed to get into the arena
Right.
of speaking about anything. It's crazy.
It's just a shut up. Don't say anything.
Normie land.
Yes. But again, Apollo, that's an equivalent of Nimrod's son. But you know what his twin sister was?
I I probably forgot it.
Artemis.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I did know that.
Goddess
Huh.
of sudden death. Died suddenly, anyone?
Just a coincidence.
Yeah,
Just a coincidence.
right? It's
Yeah.
like, guys, come on, come on.
Ouch.
But Metatron or Meta means dead in Hebrew. If you didn't know that, that's the owner of Facebook and Insta, and
Mm.
is short form for Metatron, the archangel, also called Saturn, better known as Satan. And you will notice that that is very similar to the Ouroboros or the little manhood thing that's sticking out of Baphomet's pants.
Oh,
Yes, that's
interesting.
his manhood. A lot of people don't realize that.
Why is Satan sometimes in correlation with Venus, like the morning star?
I've been reading into that. Basically because of his mom, as near as I can tell. Like I said, you'll because you'll again, it's not Satan, it's but you'll see the
Oh, okay.
logo on his head,
Mm.
Baphomet's, and that's mommy's logo, Semiramis, or sigil of Astaroth. Illusion over the hearts and minds of men. Yeah, again, I'm going to be explaining because this is who they want as their messiah, and we're already seeing that in our culture today. A lot of people don't understand that because again, they automatically go, "Oh, Baphomet, that means Satan." Rather, I would rather term it as the vessel for the Antichrist. So you know how he says he raises up the Antichrist from the, yes, that's what I would call it, because basically he was like, I'm the greatest ever as long as I'm possessed with this greatest energy, which what I would say was Lucifer Azazel. If that makes
Mm.
any sense. I was his avatar.
It's, and it's funny because I've heard all these things and I'm still like this red devil Satan, and it's like, but I know that there's Baal and Baphomet
Yes.
and all these other things. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm trying to categorize everything, Brandon. I'll eventually get there, and but this old brain, it's not as spongy as it used to be. So bear with
You
me.
don't need to know all of it. Basically, what I've told people is just try to get a rough premise more so of what the meaning and symbolism of each of their gods and deities, whatever you want to call it, as opposed to understanding who each one connects to. Somebody like myself, I'm kind of a bit of a nerd. I like seeing, oh, this is similar to this one, this is similar to that one. Like, for instance, how I came to this conclusion, it wasn't just, oh, no, I'm looking at the symbolism. So let's look at the middle slide here. That's it, you see the little caduceus in Satan's little lap area. I mean, that is
Hmm.
his manhood, but it's also the pharmaceutical symbol. But you see Thoth carry it, which is where we get the word thought from, wisdom, thought. And Hermes carries it. And I'm going to keep on going, but as you understand the phrase as above, so below, that's not affiliated with Baphomet originally. That's a term from the Trihermes and the Emerald Tablets.
Do you know who the creator is of this drawing, or like the
The
originator
Baphomet
of?
one?
Yeah,
No,
that
I
would be
find
an
things all
interesting.
over.
That would be an interesting for thing that I would probably end up digging into. It's like who's the original artist that got this vision to create
Draw it.
this, and then has passed this on, right, to
Right.
generations for us to see the symbolism in. Anyway,
The original, yeah. I don't know, but I don't know. Would that be 1600s, maybe 17, maybe 18?
hmm.
I don't know. But you also notice he's got wings, and both Hermes and Thoth were said to be able to fly as the herald of the gods. That's what the caduceus means. It's known as the herald's wand, magician's wand, you might want to call it. But anyways, caduceus carried by Hermes, the father of Hermaphrodite, male and female. So we get that with the Baphomet connection as well. Just
Hmm.
saying. Janus, which is where we get the month January from, looking forward, looking back. You see the two heads of a man connected there. One would be Nimrod, the other would be Tammuz. I would say the younger one being Tammuz.
Interesting.
Uh,
Kind of like in Harry Potter, the first one.
oh, yeah. Did you know that J.K. Rowling, she has Solvay and Coagula tattooed on her?
I did not know that.
Those are the two tattoos on each one of Baphomet's arms.
Interesting.
Solve is to bring something from another realm into existence. Coagula means blood clot.
Hmm.
9/11 was coronation day for kings in ancient Israel. Coagula, corona.
Hmm.
Just saying, folks. And what's left now? Just the star mark in their head and in their right hands. It's there, folks. Again, we're not doing the whole deep dive on that, but just throwing out a little teaser for you.
Hmm.
They know what they're doing. Um, Ganesha with Vinyaki, which is the elephant with multi-gender parts, and of course the Baphomet, male and female.
Mm.
But like we were saying, why was it the staff? Because again, it was the magicians of Egypt. They worshiped Thoth. And I was just talking to somebody the other day because I was talking to her and I said, we're always reading this Bible story, but every time we see it depicted in Hollywood, what was it that Moses said? I can't go in there. I'm not a great orator. Now, what was Thoth or Hermes? He was known as the great orator. Interesting. I laugh at the irony of the parody. And what does he say? He says, okay, bring your brother Aaron. When we watch it in movies, we always see, great Pharaoh, let my people go. Moses apparently was too nervous, but we always see Aaron just standing there like a little stooge. It's like, did Aaron actually say the stuff he was supposed to for his brother's behalf? Because, I don't get why we don't see that in movies where Aaron is doing the talking and Moses is doing the action. I'll throw
Right.
down my staff, or my brother's going to do this, you know,
Mm.
which again, I think that's just something we get wrong with Hollywood, or they're intentionally doing that so we don't understand the story or the beauty of it. But again,
Sure.
it doesn't have to necessarily look like the Greek version of the artist aspects that we see in these photos. It could have looked like a staff like you see over here on the right. That you guys can see it if you're hearing the audio, but it's like a little dip and a little serpent or vine-like structure wrapped around the staff. But there's a reason why they told Moses to do this, and what happened with Moses' snake consumed their snakes. Like, we can create that, but ours can't eat things. What the heck's going on? Yeah, try another parlor trick. Let's see if you make water into blood. And so there's a reason why they were doing what they were doing, because they had alchemy. That's what they worship, is the elements to be able to do these things.
Right.
Now you've probably seen the photo on the far left here, correct?
Last time we talked, I was introduced to it.
Did I explain it?
Yeah, we went through a bunch of it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just do a little review if this is somebody's first episode. But
Sure.
you see the lady who is sitting on top of a ladder, and she is sitting directly beneath the sun. So what is that representing? Well, this is Semiramis, Nimrod's wife, and she is sitting underneath the sun, which is originally Ra. Ra was the original sun god, and that's the only one affiliated, I would say, with Nimrod himself. All equivalents afterwards were Horus. And if you look into Egyptian mythology,
And this is a
eventually,
and this is a Freemason piece of artwork, right?
correct,
Okay.
correct. I'm breaking it down though, so you guys can see it. Um, and again, nobody's explained it to me. I just understand the symbolism. I'm like, okay, I get this. Whoa.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But you see her sitting up there. Go to the base, and you see a man sitting at the bottom of the ladder pointing up to the sun, moon, and stars. That's a direct nod to his wife, the Queen of the Heavens. So that's interesting. But then we get to the middle. We have a young man. Again, what's he doing? He's doing the pose, as above, so below. But he's pointing his arm up, and he's directly underneath the all-seeing eye, which again, the eyes are affiliated with Tammuz. He's carrying in one hand an anchor. In Freemasonry, that is the symbol for hope. And behind him is a little, I don't know, latchet strap for a key, unlocking something. Yeah, unlocking your ascension, your third eye. And then there's three pillars on a black and white floor. Black and white represents duality. But you notice anything? That's the Twin Towers. Two pillars. And then you have the third one, building
Yeah. For some reason, I
seventh.
don't remember the third one in the middle. I always remember in masonry there being two pillars.
Just like 9/11, no one remembers the extra tower. But you notice the letter that's chiseled at the base of that?
The W. Yeah.
Wisdom.
Oh, interesting.
Cloth, wisdom, alchemy. So again, that's all representing of their Messiah figure ascending, and he's going to unlock the world. That's whom they place their hope in. You
Mm-hmm.
don't need to buy it from me. I literally got this off of like a hermetical page on Instagram. I just actually added this one. And you'll notice how they align that on the Kabbalistic tree of life right over the Baphomet. They're approving me. Right. I don't, it's like, okay. So the cosmic egg on the top, it represents Keter, and then it's showing how it all aligns on with the pillars, the two pillars, like we just talked about with the whole Freemasonry thing of what that meant is a Yakin and Boaz. And it does connect to Saturn cube worship, as you see the star in the middle. On the far right, do you know who that is? Climbing
On the
up the
bot.
ladder?
Oh, wait, what? Which
Pop
picture are we looking at?
celebrity.
Oh, okay. Uh, I is that from like an 80s music video?
Mm-mm.
Stairway to Heaven?
Yes. Well, no, but it does. That's actually where that song stems from. It was actually composed in Aleister Crowley's house in Scotland. And
Really?
if you play that music song backwards, like a 7 minute video, and it's a very demonic song singing "Stairway to Heaven." But this is Taylor Swift climbing a ladder in her Euros tour on
Oh,
stage.
interesting.
Yeah, talk about indoctrinating the minds of the young
I'm
ones.
not a big Taylor Swift fan, never have been, and I was
Same.
right. I'm just gonna get a shirt that says "I told you so." I can smell
I
him a
love it.
mile away. Just like Drake. As soon as Drake came out, I was like, "What's going on here? Something's not right."
Like I know the songs, I never care about their names, you know. But anyways, just giving a little context that it even they're influencing us all the time.
Well,
Over here,
even Taylor Swift looking like that Satanist's daughter or
Anton
wife.
LaVey's daughter.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Hmm. A lot of people are just cognitive dissonant. They don't even want to look that up.
Right. Either that or she
Over
just looks
here,
like that common of a, white person.
right? They all look alike. Well,
They all look
thanks.
alike. Yeah.
Um, but over here we have again, this is taking right off of a Hermes healing alchemist. You have a man figure standing on one side of this picture with the sun over his head, Nimrod. You have the moon sitting over the female aspect. He's got a triangle over his genitalia region up to his knees, pointing upward, and then you have the female with a triangle pointing downwards. You have two snakes at the base of both of their feet, and you have the caduceus staff with the chakras going all the way up. Like, guys, it's literally all right there. Come on. And again, I have the next to the visual that I just showed prior with all, the statues, so you can see it. It's all playing out. Why is it in the middle? Because Chakra would connect to their son, Tammuz, who unlocked enlightenment for all of mankind, should they so choose this Messiah. Yeah, that's a doppelganger. Christ
Hmm.
consciousness, yeah. And a
Ha-
Kundalini.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
Brandon, have you read any Dan Brown books?
Dan Brown.
Like Lost Symbol, Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons?
Okay, yeah, I flipped around in the when I was like 13, 14 years old. I was mentioning that to the Sunday school teacher and teen group, and he got flipping mad at me.
No, I don't know what side Dan Brown is on. He is one of my favorite authors,
Yeah.
and he really does. I actually think he brought symbolism to the mainstream. Now,
Mm,
whether it was like here you go and you do what you will,
what you
and if you
will,
choose
right?
to ignore it and choose to think that it's fairy tales, so be it. But that was one of my intros into a lot of this
World.
symbologies. Yeah, so I'm like kind of grateful for him, but at the same time, I don't know if I trust him because he's kind of like mainstream and who
Yeah,
knows, right?
that's
But
one of the
oh,
first red flags.
yeah, but and I was like, is he a Mason? Is he an atheist? Somebody was telling me that he's a big time atheist, so obviously he can't be a Mason, but who knows what you can trust. But I just thought it was very, I mean, if you go and read his books, I think that you would actually appreciate a lot of the art and things like that. And you could like, oh, okay, so he's telling the truth about this symbol. He's kind of putting people down the wrong path with this symbol.
So
It
those
would be an
right.
interesting thing to corroborate.
I could dig around, see what we got, as
Yeah.
long as I don't
Anyway,
get yelled at again.
he's a great
as
writer. But
as I was
Deception
explaining to
Point.
him, even as a teen, I said, I'm not reading this material to convert to their stuff. I'm reading it to understand.
Hmm.
And a lot of Christians, they don't bother to look outside their little theology box of to not, that's not canon, that's not meaning. Yeah, then yeah, just like I'm just seeing what they believe. Because how am I supposed to reach the root, the cynic, if I don't understand where their background is coming from? You know, which a lot of
And
Christians.
that's kind of my mentality too. It's the more I know, the more, I guess, powerful I am, or the less susceptible I am for attacks spiritually. That's pretty much my main goal, to learn as much as I can.
Right.
It's basically a self-defense thing.
Well, that's the way it should be. We're like a sharp two-edged sword. We should know our stuff, and we should also know what the enemy is thinking and what their end game goal is. Because if we don't, And I mean, even Sun Tzu said, "Know yourself and know your enemy." Those like the first rule of war. If you don't know anything, then what do you do? Like you shouldn't even
Yeah,
be involved. Are you
yeah,
actually fighting the spiritual warfare? Because honestly, after 2020, I know who's awake and I know who's definitely asleep.
yeah, yeah, exactly. There's a
Like you
huge
just said,
divide. There's a
if you're buying
huge
this
divide.
Apollo and 9/11 thing, then yeah,
Right. And if you're still getting your eighth booster, holy smokes, man. I mean, yeah, you're probably dead by now, but it's seriously, it's shockingly sad, the lambs to
yeah.
the slaughter. And they would rather get mad at people like us,
Hmm.
like me, my dad, my family. They would much rather get mad at me than the freaks on TV that led them down the wrong path.
Right.
It's human psychology is a crazy thing.
It's tragic.
Yeah. I'll let you continue.
Anyways, they're showing on top of the caduceus here with the little ringed ball at top. They're showing that as the all-seeing eye. So it's not just me stating that, folks. They're showing it with their own visuals. Again, I'm getting this off of their own sites on Instagram because they see that I post on signs and symbolism. So eventually that comes up in my feed for things you might like. I'm like, okay, thank you for confirming for me. Something else was another visual. Um, but like we were talking earlier with the Saturn cubes and such, but both Roman Catholicism and Islam revere the moon god and sun god. Many images of Catholic Virgin Mary show her standing over a crescent moon, and there are many sun worship images throughout the Catholic Church, including the St. Peter's Basilica at the Vatican. The Eucharist wafer represents the sun god, which is placed on a crescent moon in the moonstrance, representing their sexual union and the rebirth of their son, Tammuz. Islamic mosques have the crescent moon representing the moon god and a star or the sun god. Many times you see pictures with the sun cradled in the Islamic moon symbol representing their sexual union. Now, if you guys did not know, Nimrod boinked his own mommy. And this created, like, I'm not sure if Ham messed around with his mom, but it was either a double incest or his incest in general that occurred that created the unholy offspring. So when you get the term mother, that's probably where this stems from.
The OG Oedipus complex, right?
Right. The original, and it's a very nasty little family. But when the son, so I was presenting this to another individual, and they have a Catholic background, and they were saying, "Well, I don't really buy that because Virgin Mary's always standing, and you're showing her here as sitting." And I'm like, if I flip you the bird sitting in my car, or if I'm walking across the street and I'm just, I see somebody, if I still flip you the bird, is it still the same symbol? Yes, it doesn't really matter if I'm sitting or standing, and that's the that's kind of a cognitive dissonance thing. It's just like,
Mm.
no, it doesn't mean it's like for the call, it still means the same thing, regardless of how you try to interpret it, or deny it.
So creepy to think about having a brother son. That'd be so weird.
Oh, and then on top of that, Tammuz, because Nimrod died, he married grandma
Oh,
and
jeez.
his mom. I mean,
Wow.
guys, yeah, this is all it was a very nasty family. And this is like, yeah, this is why Hollywood does what they do, because tradition, it's
Yeah,
sick.
that's a crazy bloodline, though. That's a crazy bloodline. Keep it in the family, right?
Yeah, for real. It's like, well, at least I know you're not going to come near me because you're doing it all to yourselves.
Right.
Um, but anyways,
Me and my filthy bloodline.
right. If you have a social security card and you're from America, you might note if you pull one out now and you're only listening to the audio that there's two pillars on each side of your little social security, and they have a little eagle in the center. Well, the eagle represents the American bird of freedom, right? Well, you're like my friend who's stating that the Antichrist has to come from the Syria region of the world. Not necessarily, because let's dig into what it actually meant in the Middle East. Over here, we have the eagle, the Syrian sunbird, acted as a servant messenger, similar to the Olympian Hermes, connecting with the Olympians being the messenger of the gods, herald of the gods. It was the eagle that carried the souls to their destination, at least those who had undergone the necessary purification. Now, pine cones used to be given out in forms and ceremonies of purification. The eagle thus played a prominent role in the cult of Sol Invictus. Alagabal. Alagabal is a variation of the word Baal, and he was frequently represented together with his master, the sun god. A marble altar found in Rome in the Regio Trans Iberina carries an image of Sol Invictus borne by an eagle. One of the priests of the god, T. Ilios Balabus, dedicated an aquila to him. The eagle, or else a chariot drawn by 4 horses, carried the souls to the next world. The souls of the emperors could attain this eternal bliss most easily because their lives were spent in close communion with the sun deity. The titles emperors adopted and used on their coinage affiliated with Hermes, provide adequate evidence on this point. They set their subjects the proper example of the requisite cleansing, the abstention. Elagabalus is an emperor. For instance, the depraved voluptuary who had slave of his passions refused to eat pork because of his abstention was a means of purification. He even planned to have himself castrated. A remarkable contrast to his habitual excesses. This permits the conclusion that the cult knew ecstatic moments in which the devotees also practice similar rites. In this cult of Sol Invictus, Elagabal was not alone. Similar practices were known in the cults of Cybele and Attis. And what did we say earlier about Attis? He was the savior god. Christ pagan doppelganger. Cybele is another sun god. Again, Cybele caps like the little Pope wears and the Yews wear for prayer. Drawn an example of their emperor, the Sacerdos Accomplimus. The faithful devotees and ordinary mortals as well began to regulate their life according to the doctrine of their faith, their souls thereby bound to Sol Invictus by a strong mystical bond, would thus be carried the supreme bliss of being the near of their God and the mediation of the eagle at the proper time, that is, after death. So I'm just letting you know, guys, we have a death cult that believes in regeneration, reincarnation, and we have an eagle as our symbol. We had the Twin Towers not fall in Syria, but in America. You listen to a lot of the Zohar rabbis, they refer to America as the new Babylon. Just make note of that.
You don't mess with the Zohan,
Mm-mm.
Brandon.
Mm-mm-mm.
It's yeah, this stuff's super interesting. It's can you go back one slide?
Sure.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that there is so much symbolism in that bottom photo.
Yep.
It's almost too much, right?
It overwhelms if you don't understand.
Right.
But
And
like the heart, that would connect to Baal, sun connects to, so it if you understand, it makes sense. If you don't understand, oh, it's too much for me. I don't even want to think about it.
mhm, yeah. It's no, this stuff's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Are you all set?
Good to go, yeah.
All right. Again, just showing a little bit of a visual if you're watching this. What we have, again, this is from a Masonic page. They have the black pillar, the white pillar, again, Yakin, Boaz. And then on the door, they have the Star of Remphan. But over that, they have the little black and white checkered floor and the tree of life, the Kabbalistic tree of life, sitting in the very center. You look over here on the right side, we have a little parallel how they're showing you can achieve your own God consciousness. I am that I am. And it's showing the elements of air, fire, water, and earth. And it shows the Holy Spirit on the left, sorry, Christ's Son on the left side of this individual pictogram of a person stretched out. And then they have Holy Spirit on the right side of that. And above that is Father. So it's literally saying I can ascend to become like the God Most High. It's literally laid out right there in the occult aspects of things.
So do you believe in reincarnation, Brandon?
No, the occult does. That's
Yeah,
what I'm going to be trying to show. Reincarnation, regeneration, whereas we believe in the resurrection. By Christ
right.
coming back, he proved this whole cult a fraud. The best that they can do is replicate and imitate. I think the only success they're going to have is when the Antichrist, I'm going to lay this all out and then I'm going to do a reveal. I think when he gets a head wound, he comes back. I think that's where they're going to do some kind of project over at CERN and let him be indwelled with the spirit of the Antichrist. So, and again, he'll become official, the avatar for the Antichrist.
I think that there's got to be something to this, though, as far as reincarnation goes. Whether so, let's take somebody that's awful.
Mhm.
Let's take Bill Gates. Bill Gates is awful,
Yeah.
and he has a lot of money. He's got a crazy bloodline. He knows a lot of things. He's in the know spiritually. Let's just
Yep.
say he's not an atheist whatsoever. He knows that if he does certain things, if he dies, do you think that they have the power to like harness and put him back into another vessel? Like, can they do these things, these evil things? Maybe he's not really Bill Gates. Maybe he's Bill Baphomet or whatever. It's
I think the best that they can do is maybe clone. Like, you know how we got a lot of celebrities that kind of look like somebody from before. I
yeah.
think that's the best that they can do. I don't think they can bring back life. I don't think that they can bring back
You don't think they could
um
stick a person into the vessel or like a spirit into the vessel and
oh, absolutely. And I think that would tap in a little bit into demonic aspects. Like if you, it's like a blood ritual. If
mm,
you want me to indwell you, then you're going to have to, sacrifice your first male child or something like that. Which is
yeah.
again, we see the parody of Christ doing that and the angel of death when he was passing over Egypt.
Mm.
So we
Because
see a similarity already laid out there. Yeah.
honestly, I told my wife, I'm like, I'm too tired to do reincarnation. Like seriously, when I die, I just can't wait to just take a take a dirt nap and just go to heaven and be okay. Like I don't need to come back and
No.
learn everything again. Geez, that just sounds exhausting. Like I'm really good. This is my one shot. I'll make the best of it I can. But like someone like Bill Satan Gates,
Yes.
he obviously wants to live forever or live as long as he can and do as much
Right.
damage as he can in the time, before he passes the baton to his children
Mhm.
for them to do whatever they're going to do or
Carry on.
carry on doing the plan, right? Because obviously
Right.
they're planning generations, right?
Mhm. Well, again, man can plan as long as they want, but God ultimately has the end call.
Yeah, man plans, God laughs, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Go ahead. That's funny. Um, Again, this was taken off of a Kabbalah page on Instagram, but you can
Interesting.
see the individual here sitting here, a little priestly individual with a all-seeing eye triangle on his forehead, so pineal gland, and on his he's holding open a little book or tablet like thing, Kabbalah tree on the left side, right side, and a triangle with a cross sitting over it on the other. Why is it a triangle? Well, a triangle would represent the Trihermes, because he knows the three philosophies of how to attain immortality via the emerald tablets that he recorded. You have uh, individuals sitting on top of two pillars on each side of this guy in the center with spread out on a cross.
Hmm.
How odd. But again, we already know that's affiliated with Tammuz. And on each side of him, symbols of Thoth, the Egyptian god, with a sun and moon over his head. We just said that's supposed to be Semiramis. And so it's all right there. They're already laying it out. And then on top of that, we get the photo right to the right of Baphomet. And again, he's sitting between two pillars, all seeing eye over his head, black and white checkerboard. So again, it's showing, oh, this is Hermes. This is all. And again, if you don't understand, it's just okay, really mystical artwork. And like you were saying earlier, I kind of want to get in because I kind of want to know what this all means because this is really, cool. If you
Is
don't
is that one
understand,
is that one
yeah,
from the Kabbalah as well?
Kabbalah, Masonry, it all interchanges, all interconnects.
Like this picture of Baphomet, is that in there as well?
No, that one I found just on where did I find that one? I found that one on a page that is connected to a lodge, I think.
Okay.
Is it Idaho?
Because it's so perfect that as a globe. I mean, that's to me, that's just like
Oh
the,
yeah.
the, the satanic
That's
trinity.
yeah, that's heliocentrism. And Helios is another equivalent of another sun god, and that would also connect to Tammuz.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So one other question I have:
Hmm.
Jewish people, how many percent roughly do you think know about the Kabbalah, read it, know it? Is it mostly like a rabbi thing or a
I would say
Hasidic
IDF
Jew
for
thing?
sure. Yeah, IDF definitely knows. This is part of their training, as I shared a clip the while back. This is part of their training. It endorses a lot of like, Gentile genocide. It endorses like, yes, you can have affair with a kid that's like 3 years old in a day.
Hmm.
And then what was the other one? They have that. Oh yeah. What I was saying with Gentile, you can off people. They were what's the root word? They call us goyim, Gentile, and it just so happens the root word for vaccine is of or from a cow. Just so
Hmm.
happens everybody that was in charge of the distribution and moving that said product around all had dual citizenship with a certain country.
Right.
So higher ups in the club for sure, a lot of higher ups with Masons, they're cousins to the same ones. So if you're wondering why is our government, yeah, that's why, because Masons are cousins to Kabbalah,
Okay.
Zionists.
Do you
Um,
do you think Israel got different vaccines than everybody else? Because that was
oh, I
one of
highly
the
suspect.
because that was a huge red flag to me. I'm like, man, like when I was reading Exodus during the pandemic, I was like,
Mm,
man, they're gonna kill all of God's children. Knowing what I know now, it's a little bit different story, but I don't want to
right,
see anybody die. And I mean, but they were like mandatory, like 5 shots. Like it's like
back to back to back.
yeah, that's crazy, man. Those people got like super vaccinated, and I don't know if they're dropping like flies. I haven't heard anything, but
I'm not sure if that's even a statistic that they gave us the official narrative, or like you were saying. I think it's honestly it's just like Catholicism. It's like with anything. I think there's like the 5, maybe 10% that do. They're in the know. You have the
mm,
other ones that are halfway through because tier systems like the Masonic Lodge. So
right,
maybe they get like a I'm just warning you, don't do it. And then you get all the ones that are lower and they're like, yeah, go ahead, sacrifice all of them. They don't care.
the
Yes,
pawns,
because
right?
if you're not in, we don't care.
Yeah.
That's honestly how they see it in the club. And I don't even I only say you. I say use as in YEW. Because it's tree worship aspects and ascension aspects. They see us as blood sacrifices. Um, and I would say if I'm from there, I would say I'm Hebrew descent because that would actually be more accurate. That's at least that's the way what I'm trying to demonstrate for folks here is that modern Z's are sorry, yeah, Z's are basically modern Pharisees to lay it
Yeah,
out bluntly.
and I
Yeah.
would say that I think that you're being equally harsh on all religions,
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, duh. I'm
but
against everybody.
but it's pretty wild, right? When we start digging into these things, it's like one of my first questions to you is like, man, at what point did you know they started off with a good intention, hopefully, but then
Mm,
at like human nature it gets hijacked, and now we're just down this like crazy road, and then you just got like the peons like us trying to scream at the top of our lungs, please God, wake up, please.
right. Please wake them up because this is this is too strenuous. And I think
Yeah.
that's what it's supposed to be ultimately is that we are not supposed to be happy being here. We're supposed to be groaning because we want to go to our celestial home past the firmament. Because if you're filled with the Holy Spirit, why? This world is not your home. So if you're already feeling the groanings and stuff like that, that means you're good. That means you want to go to your celestial home. That's
Mm.
what God wants. Because what happened at the other council and that was in heaven? They came down and had affairs with them. They wanted pleasure. They wanted physical stuff. What do we want? We want a spiritually. So he wants, that's what you're wondering, why does God? It's like, yeah, because his enemies are still here. And this is basically saying if you actually proved yourself, you fighting in no man's land, you get to take their place on the council because you proved your loyalty that you actually love me in this life. Like I guess the best way to describe that.
It is an interesting, like I'll take my life for example. I've been blessed to have met my wife when I was
Mm,
15. We got married when we were 20. We have kids. I'm looking forward to having grandchildren, taking care of them. I'm not scared of dying. I'm not
right,
scared of dying at all.
right.
But at the same time, I'm loving the fact that I am making this incredible life, this artwork, this book that's worth putting up on the shelf. Like, hey, this is
Right.
Alex Paul's life. And I don't know. It's, yeah, there's so many rough times. I would say 95% of the time it's like grinding and suffering. And then there's that 5% where it's like, okay, all that hard work paid
All
off. And
worth it.
there's those things that we get to really enjoy as a family and experience. I would like to start tipping the scales to, 50-50, grind it out for 50 and then enjoy it for 50. But yeah, I think I was talking on another podcast one time, and I was just saying, like, I really think God wants us to have good health, be wealthy, and help others,
Mm,
and do good. Read, do good for everyone, do good for your community,
right.
and yeah, I just know that He's taking care of me. I realize that we're in a spiritual thing, but at the same time, we do get taken care of.
Right. Right.
That's just
And I
my
think
take.
no, I think you're right. And I think that's honestly what a lot of people don't realize. Like even with the wealthy thing, I think it's not necessarily like materialism. So it's more of just like you have enough. It's enough to
Hmm.
sustain you, but it's not enough where it goes to your head and you become like the rich young ruler. Where it's like what else do I require? I already do everything else. Get rid of your coins.
And when I say wealthy, I mean I would love to have enough to take care of my family, my friends,
Hmm.
and then go into the community and give, right?
Give.
And
Right.
one of the things that I hate about the government, and I'm using the word hate, is that they're taxing us so hard.
Mm.
I want to be a philanthropist. I don't want the government to take my money and do what they will with
Right.
it. I
Right.
want I want to decide what my hard work will pay for and do in the communities
Right.
and the charities that I want to give to. I don't need them picking 70% of my pocket before I even get to do anything. Like it's crazy in Canada.
It's getting crazy down here, my friend, too. And again, who created that? I'm going to be
Yeah.
showing some visuals who created that, and it does
Yes.
connect to Nimrod. It does connect to the New World Order.
Perfect.
Um, but anyways, this is from Gary Wayne's book of the Great White Brotherhood. How then did Nimrod receive the secret sciences and the Enochian religion of the antediluvian world? How did Nimrod utilize the knowledge of the corrupted seven sciences and the vile pantheistic religions from the antediluvian world? Hermes, or Tammuz, his son, of course, discovered and translated the degenerate data from Enochian's hieroglyphics. And this is Cain's descendant of Enoch, not the one that we get the oral tradition from the Book of Enoch, just clarifying for folks,
Okay.
which were etched into the twin towers by Lamech's children. All the reprehensible evils Noah witnessed before the flood then came to haunt Noah in his later years. The twin evils of the spurious knowledge of the Nephilim both fell into the hands of the tyrant of Shinar for the detriment of post-diluvian society. The impact of the forbidden knowledge did not remain inert. Nimrod reactivated the corrupt knowledge with all of his heart and his soul. This is why Genesis 10 recorded that anything that humankind could conceive was then attainable. Even though the people of Shinar did not possess the heavenly wisdom to apply this spurious knowledge for only the good of humankind, the seven spurious sciences are purportedly so powerful that anything is possible through their application. To this end, craft legends recorded Nimrod was a mason who loved the spurious sciences. Nimrod was captivated with aggression stemming from his newly found power, and he is celebrated as a great mason. So,
Hmm.
just laying that out. And again, Twin Towers, I found that very ironic. Um, but again, Mount Hermon, a lot of people didn't know this. This is why I really hate when other truther pages are doing, oh, look, it's 33. Oh, look, a creepy gesture. And I'm going, and it's the occult. And what do you it's their highest degree. But what does it mean? I, what are you asking about? I already know my stuff. And I'm like, guys, no, you need to give context because if you're just throwing this stuff out and saying I'm against it, but you don't understand ultimately how this connects to the Bible, you don't understand how this connects to the dynasty from Babel and the counterfeit religions of all the world and how it's going to unite, then you're not really contributing 100%. You're basically giving me 60, 70%. And then you're just going, oh, I'm paranoid. And you're promoting fear. Whereas if you give clarity, you go straight for the source. I'm not being a word salad. I'm showing you. I'm giving you context. You then are armed and equipped. And that's what I was telling somebody on the other podcast the other day. It says I'm basically like the CIA equivalent for intelligence. I'm telling the soldiers, this is what we got on the ground. This is the aerial view stuff that we got going. This is who we're trying to take out. This is the mark. This is their blah, 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 blah. I'm explaining the structure so that the troops are armed. You're spiritually equipped to go into battle. That's kind of how I see my ministry in a sense.
Sure, yeah.
But anyways, Freemasonry is 33 degrees, similar to our spine, because they worship the fallen watcher's alchemy knowledge that Nimrod's son Tammuz or Hermes translated here. Mount Hermon coordinates the 33-degree parallel. Mount Hermon in Hebrew means forbidden or cursed. Hermes derives his name from Hermon, Mount Hermon. The emerald tablets were translated from the events that transpired here. Baal Hermon, Bel Hermon. Ring a bell every hour upon the hour. Now, again, when I looked into it, they said no, hour does not connect to Horus. It connects to the Vikings, who probably got it from the Latin version of the Romans, and blah, 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 blah. But it eventually connected to the equinox, and this I was like, okay, well, that would then connect to the sun, and that would connect to Horus. So therefore, every hour upon the hour, ring a bell. Why is it a steeple shaped like a monolith? Why? Because he's dead, so you want to remember him every hour. So every time the church was ringing a bell, yeah, kind of crazy, right? Remembering Baal. And again, the world's tallest UN base with the star Chaos is in front, is on top of Mount Hermon, present day. So that
The
should
gr
tell you all you need to know.
the green tablet is the Hermetic principles, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so that's basically like the laws of the universe according to Hermes or
Yes, and also how do I obtain immortality? How do I
mm,
obtain eternal life, regeneration, reincarnation? And there's an individual that I interviewed the other day. My goodness, he die hard believes in this, saying, "You're God, I'm God, the fish is God." And I was like, okay, so what? Well, how do you explain Christ? He's like, well, he was ascended master. I'm like, well, was he God? Yes. Well, so you're telling me God died for 3 days? No. I'm like, I was I couldn't understand it. I was trying. It was yeah, steam. You know, I was
yeah,
what movie was that? Was that Willy Wonka where he had the steam coming out from his head? I was like, yeah,
yeah,
that's what's going on for me. I was like, I'm losing brain cells here. But
sure.
this is the doppelganger aspect, like you said. You can't live your whole life and then go through something else, and then you're just like, oh yeah, I've been through this before. It's like,
It's
no, that's it.
interesting. It's interesting with like the Philosopher's Stone, which is basically, you're going to become immortal. You're trying to become immortal from
Right.
from finding the Philosopher's Stone or creating the Philosopher's Stone. And then I was just reading Genesis the other day too, and I thought, man, the the tree of life, like how
Yes.
how the cherubims are protecting it with the fire sword, and I feel like nobody talks about that.
Right.
And it's like, where is this mythical place? Like if it is a place here, it's obviously heavily guarded. Nobody can get to that tree,
Mhm.
obviously, to eat from it because then everybody would eat for it and like live forever, right?
Well, somebody was pitching that when Christ went down, because you know how originally it was the rich man, or he was seeing Abraham from across the way. So you apparently paradise could be seen at that
Yeah.
time.
Hmm.
So you could see hell from where you were. Well, what happened when Christ came back? Well, again, today you will be with me in paradise. So he probably brought paradise up into heaven. That's why we can't find it. Again, do I know that for certain? No, but I'm just saying because he broke that barrier. Now, what do we get? Eternity is no longer down here. It's because he broke the firmament.
Right.
They're still trying to pitch it with rockets and spaceships and all this stuff. And he's like, no, you can't do it unless you spiritually submit yourself to your creator God. That's how
Right.
simple it is, folks. And they're like, no, we want to do it on our own. We can do that on our own.
Interesting.
Okay. Satan
Or,
tried that.
or the tree got killed during one of the floods, right? Or
Right. Right.
or a giant chopped it down, and now it's like one of those like mountain tree things. Like you've seen those like pictures where that mountain is actually like looks like petrified
Giant
wood, and
tree.
and I thought,
Yeah.
man, maybe that's like one of these trees, and somehow it got cut down, and who knows,
Could
right?
be. I don't know. Personally, I suspect that it was probably brought up to heaven. The only reason being is because if we can't find it, there's probably a reason for that. And if they call heaven now paradise, then I think that would have some sort of connotation since he was here. It's like, okay, now I'm here. I'm gonna be packing up shop. Um, you know,
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe he even had a feast down there.
Or
And all
or
the demons are
God's
like, look,
God's hiding it really well from us, right?
right. And again, maybe spiritually someday we could actually see it and just be like, oh my gosh, it's been there
Right.
this whole time.
Right. Yeah.
Like one of those little portal rooms, or the was it Stranger Things? It's in the upside down.
Right. Right.
Who
Or
knows?
sometimes I think about Wonder Woman. That was a crappy movie, but
Right.
how they accidentally found where these women were living. It was almost like
Mhm.
this hidden island that you had to go past this one threshold. I don't know. They
Right.
hide all this crazy stuff in Hollywood, right? But
Well, it's like
interesting
even
things.
the movie Lost, the island that nobody could ever really find, but they're
Yeah,
all
yeah.
there.
Yeah,
That kind of
Lost was
thing
a great
too.
show. I love that show.
I love that. Um, but anyway, it's also known as the Smardina tablet. The cornerstone of the tenets of alchemy, the Smardinian tablet, also known as the Emerald Tablet or the Secret of Hermes, is an ancient text, and it is said to contain the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, the founder of all things alchemical. The legend goes that Alexander the Great found the tablet in the tomb of Hermes. Inscribed on it, the Phoenician characters were the instructions for making gold. The tomb is reputed to have been near Hebron, and the earliest translations of this mysterious recipe are in Arabic. The use of the emerald lends further exotism, which is hidden, to the story. However, of the time that the green colored stone was referred to as the emerald, it is likely that the Smardinian tablet was green jasper. Whatever the material construction, the instructions on it have attracted the consideration of many illustrious characters over the centuries, including Roger Bacon, Alberton Magnus, Aleister Crowley, and C.G. Young. Alchemy is full of hidden secrets and relies heavily on symbols, wordplay, and double meanings to hide its mysteries from all but the most prospective and adept of interpreters. The words on the Emerald Tablet are no exception. There are several translations. Isaac Newton, who is an alchemist, provided the following interpretation that was found among his papers after his death in 1727. This is the following: "'Tis true, without lying, certain and most true. 1. That which is below is like that which is above, as above, so below, and that which is above is like that which is below, to do the miracles of one only thing. 2. And all things have been arose from one by the mediation of one, so all things have their birth from the one thing by adaptation. 3. The sun is father, Nimrod, the moon is mother, Semiramis. 4. The wind hath carried in its belly, the earth its nurse. 5. The father of all perfection in the whole world is here. I am God, is essentially what he said. Yeah. And remember what Carl Sagan said? The cosmos is all there ever was, ever will be. Yeah, that connects to this kind of thinking. It's a quote, it's a paraphrased quote from the Smaragdinian tablet or the Emerald tablet. 6.
Mm.
Its force or power is as entire of it converted into earth. 7. Separate thou the earth from the fire, and the subtle from the gross sweetly, with great industry. 8. It ascends to the earth to the heaven again, and it descends to the earth, and receives the force of things superior and inferior. 9. By this means you shall have the glory of the whole world, and thereby all obscurity shall fly from you. 10. Its force is above all force, for it vanquishes every subtle thing, and penetrates every solid thing. 11. So was the world created. 12. From this are and do come the admirable adaptations, whereof the means or process is here in this. 13. Hence I, called Hermes Trismegistus, having the 3 parts of this philosophy of the whole world, hence the triangle. 14. That which I have said, that the operation of the sun is accomplished and ended. He's affiliated himself with the sun. He's affiliated himself with the elements, and he's saying that he is basically God. That is Masonry. That is Kabbalah, folks. This is what he believes, that he is the greatest of all time. So, so when we get finally to Mr. Baphomet, and everybody's like, oh, it's above, so below, that connects to Satan. It's like, no, because you could see the quote right over here from Hermes Trismegistus, the Emerald Tablets. As above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. Soul Invictus, and he's already affiliated himself with the sun. And the symbols of the 4 elements is the triangle, regularly, like you would see, is fire. Air is the same triangle, but a line over the top part. And then you have water, which is an inverse triangle pointing downwards. And you have earth, which is an inverse triangle with a stripe through it. Conjoined together equals as above, so below. So, folks, when you are posting, God bless Israel, and you're posting this star of Remphan, you are literally pointing a middle finger in the face of God saying, we don't need you. We already have the celestial alchemy knowledge to attain immortality without you. Well, no, you're wrong, Brandon. Okay, then why does Rothschilds claim in biographies be descendants of Nimrod? They're the ones that designed the Israeli flag. They're also the ones that gave us our IRS through Jacob Schiff. It's like, okay, well, no, look, you know, the all-seeing eye? That's atop of the Israeli Supreme Court as well, and it's a greenish shaded color like the emerald. And Rothschilds describe. So, guys, don't take my word for it. Go look it up. I'm going to be showing you some slides with that, but again, you can see what they're talking about. Does it make sense? I'm going off of hearsay, but then I look it up and I'm like, okay. Originally, it was just a yeah, maybe, but then I looked it up and it's confirming everything that I'm pitching. You have anything you want to say before I read these 2 things?
Well, I was just going to say that there are no accidents when they're designing these things. I was looking at
Correct.
the Parliament building in Winnipeg, Manitoba, because I used to work there for a little bit, and I lived in Winnipeg for most of my entire life.
Gotcha.
There is no reason why there should be a sphinx on a Parliament building in the middle of Canada. There is
Right.
just absolutely no reason. Now, after you and I talk, maybe I'll find out why that they put a sphinx on there, and God knows what other symbols that they put on there. I just thought that that was very odd that they would put
Yes.
something like that. They do have some big giant buffaloes, and to me that makes sense. You got some buffaloes, we're on the
Yeah.
prairies, but a sphinx, what the heck is that doing there? You have this golden naked golden boy on the top of this dome. Anyway, the architecture is very, very interesting and is very out of place
Yeah.
considering the rest of the architecture in the entire city. It's just very, once you understand that they do all these things on purpose, it's not an accident. It's not because the guy liked pyramids or because he
Right.
liked
Right.
obelisks. These things are there for a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
These are their gods. These are their symbols. Again, even with Washington, D.C., it's like you walk around, you're just like, I don't really care. I don't need a tour. I already know what it means and I know who they were. I'm good. Thanks. And other people look at you like you're crazy. You're like, well, look at the marble of the Great Washington Monument. I'm like, that's a giant version of Nimrod's palace. Why? You know, it's Baal's phallus. Why do I care? You know, was it the muscular flat earther or whatever? I'm probably butchering his name, but I was
Hmm.
watching his clip where he posted that, and I was like, yeah, I've known that, but I'm just like, it's amazing how many people are thinking this is a good thing, and I'm like, not really. Literally was
Yeah.
built by Masons, and I think it was 1853, 54. They were running out of some stone material, and who donated? Pope Pius, the guy
Mm.
that was part of the Lincoln assassination. So I was just like, guys, I don't know.
Oh, well.
Start paying
So
attention.
shout out to Tyler, the fittest flat earther.
There you go. That was it. That was it. Thank you.
He's
Yeah.
actually going to be on the show tomorrow.
Oh, awesome. Tell him I said, hey, I really like
Okay.
his stuff.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic. He's blowing up. Man, the Globe trolls can't even keep up. They're just like
Yeah.
they're so desperate. It's so funny. I told him, man, you're over the target. Just keep going.
Yep. Just keep dropping the napalm.
Yep.
Um, but again, this is taken from another one of their sites. This is a lady author. I couldn't find her. I couldn't have room to post her name, but this is from their own stuff. Hermes Trismegistus is a legendary figure in Western esotericism, which means hidden, who embodies a fusion of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. The name Trismegistus means thrice greatest, highlighting his reputation as a source of profound wisdom and knowledge of various spiritual traditions. Hermes Trismegistus is often associated with Hermetic tradition, a philosophical and spiritual path, and it emerged during the late antiquity period, drawing inspiration from Egyptian, Greek, and later, they say Christian, but I'm going to go Catholic influences. This tradition encompasses a wide range of esoteric teachings, including alchemy, astrology, spiritual enlightenment, and the pursuit of divine wisdom. The Corpus of Hermeticum, a collection of philosophical and spiritual texts attributed to the Hermes Trismegistus, forms the foundation of Hermeticism. These texts explore the themes such as the nature of reality, the relationship between the microcosm and microcosm, and the path of spiritual enlightenment. They also introduced the concept of as above, so below, emphasizing the interconnectedness of the spiritual and material realms. And remember, solve, to bring something from another realm into existence. That's on Baphomet's arm. So again, not Satan, but more so a doppelganger or a fleshly vessel thereof. And again, his teachings have influenced various Western esoteric traditions, including alchemy, the Kabbalah, and the occult. His status as a guide of hidden wisdom, spiritual transformation, and the pursuit of higher truths has joined countless seekers in their spiritual journeys. It's important to note that while Hermes Trismegistus has attained a legendary and revered status, historical evidence regarding his existence is limited. The figure is more symbolic representation of the merging of the Egyptian and Greek wisdom traditions, encapsulating the idea of a transcendent teacher who holds the keys to deep spiritual insights and the mysteries of the universe. Now, what did we see on that with the kid in the ladder pointing upward with the key wrapped around? Yeah. Again, their own terminology, their own language. I'm just showing you some connections.
Mhm.
Well, how do I know Hermes connects with all these other variants? Well, let's read a little bit about their mythos. Hermes, son of Zeus and Maia, was born in a cave on Mount Silene in Arcadia. And again, we get over here with another equivalent. Um, what again? So Mithras, was he born in a cave? Now remember, a lot of Gnostics or people who are doubting of Christianity, they're going to say, well, Christ was born in a cave. That actually connects to Mithra, and he was born in a cave. And like I was already explaining, Originally, they suspect that the manger where Christ was born was actually in a cave-like structure, and it was made into like a barn because that's what they had back then. It was easier to actually make it out of rock because it was harder to, a back door and all that for predators and such to get in. But with Mithras, allegedly, this Mithra or Mitra, that's in the same thing, the Mitra cap that the Pope wears, is believed to be the mediator between God and man, between sky and the earth. It is said that Mithra, or the sun, took birth in a cave on December 25th. It is the belief in the Christian world that Mithra, or the sun god, was born of a virgin and traveled far and wide, very similar to Christ, hence the
Mhm.
doppelganger. I think Christ did intentionally what he did. Where was Maya give birth to Hermes? And again, it says in the cave of Arcadia. And according to myth, Mithra was born bearing a torch, like the Statue of Liberty, in one arm and a knife in the other, beside a sacred stream or under a sacred tree. Now, what do we talk about with the tree of life with the serpents? We're seeing a very strong connection with Mithra and Hermes and the god of earth and life. Because again, Maya is, I think, the goddess of the ground and Zeus. But again, with Attis, where is he born? He was born near the eddying stream of the river Gallus. So we always see river, cave, and tree. River, cave, and tree. Rock on. Oh, no, that's Hail Satan. Exoterically, it means that. It means what the plebes know. Esoterically, hidden means Hail Satan. But a rock on, rock, he's born from a cave, born from a rock. This is what it means to them. Yeah. And
The
again, rock,
highway to hell.
meteorite rock. Right. Right. But again, just showing you, they already have this all laid out. You look up Attis, you look up Helios, who's the other one? Again, Statue of Liberty. It's all the same thing. And if you keep putting light on the logo for Angel Studios, and I've done this before, you will find it is the crown for Attis. Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm not going to read the whole thing, just showing in Juno, which is month, May and June, between May 20th and the June 20th. The light counterpart of Janus, again, January, the ruler of the new year period, because Juno is the divine watcher over the female sex, and the month of June is held and most favorable for marrying, as Juno Moneta, the guardian of money and wealth, and the goddess temple dedicated on Capitoline Hill in Rome. This goddess had a temple dedicated to, contained the mint where coinage was produced. And what do we say about Hermes? Thought to be the originator of coins.
Yes.
So very interesting that he's connected again with June, coinage, Rome. And again, the emerald birthstone is supposed to be for May and June, connecting it to those things. And what do we get here? Is it movable holidays in May include Mejnor, which is, again, from the festival of Thor's Hammer, celebrated on a Thursday and coinciding with Ascension Day in the church calendar, and a commemoration of Buddha's enlightenment, which occurs on the day of the full moon in May. Again, we're seeing, oh, Christ is just another Buddha. Like another guy just like interviewed, he's saying, oh, he's just another ascended master, like Buddha, blah, blah, Muhammad.
Right.
Eventually, they're just going to merge all of them. I'm showing you how it's already laid out in the mythos where they're going to interconnect all of this stuff into one. What are the sacred animal symbols of Hermes? Well, we have the tortoise, the ram, and the hawk. America was known as the land of the feathered serpent or the phoenix to the Aztecs, Caduceus staff. And
Mm.
again, what does a phoenix do?
Rise from the
Rises from the
ashes.
ashes. And what do we do for Lent? Ashes on your pineal gland?
Mm.
It's there, folks. Native Americans used to call America Tortoise Island. One, I really want to know is how the heck did you know it was shaped like that? Because you never got an entire aerial view. So that's kind of crazy. What were they smoking? I want to know. Um, but again, it was known as a tortoise. So again, when they're saying, "Oh no, it's in Syria," it's like, well, we already have the known as Tortoise Island. We already have it affiliated with, hawk, bird of prey, whatever you want to call it. We have it on our social security. The ram was affiliated with royalty back in the day, or crowns. But what does the ram symbolize spiritually? The ram symbolizes new stimulation in the mental faculties, imagination, and inspiration, along with the energy to act upon it. The ram represents the power to penetrate, overcome, and achieve. It reflects the assertion of strength and creativity, ways to achieve a breakthrough. It is also associated with sacrifice. And again, male Goats are known as rams. And what do we get with the story of Abraham and Isaac? There was a ram caught in the thicket. Something else interesting I noted is, Pan looks very similar to Baphomet. He's from the same region of the world, Sumeria, Palestine, Syria, call it whatever you will. And I was chuckling because did you know that one of Tammuz's variants was known as Dumuzid? And Dumuzid, or Tammuz, known as the Sumerians as a Dumuzid the shepherd, an ancient Mesopotamian god associated with shepherds, was also the first primary consort of the goddess Inanna. The Sumerian mythology, Dumuzid's sister was Geshtiana, and the goddess of agriculture, fertility, and dream interpretation. And his parents were what? Ishtar and Dutter. How interesting. And he's known as a shepherd god.
Hmm.
What does it say over here in Matthew in 25:31 through 46? Is when the Son of Man comes in his glory, all the angels with him, he will sit on the glorious throne, all the nations to be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right hand and the goats on the left. Very interesting, isn't it? Because you're following the alchemy, like you were saying. How will people know? You will know because you will be buying the lie. Oh, I can ascend, or this is a good thing. I can, immortality. This will give me, I can download my life for, into some computer and come back. Yeah, you will know. You will know because you chose the earthly lie as opposed to the heavenly gift.
Right.
And again, well, Brandon, you're wrong about the. Well, you mind telling me why Sol Invictus on the Satanic Temple on X or Twitter put the Baphomet logo with Sol Invictus under it? The New York City? They're showing me. You're just no, they're showing me. They already know. Do you want to become initiated to find that out? No, but I can tell you what's going on. But you also note that hermaphrodite, Hermes, whatever you want to call it. Again, what was pansexual? Pandemonium? Pandemic? Uh-huh. It's known as a phallic religion. You see this giant phallus that he's got going on there. You'll notice that the chakra is an inverted pride flag.
That's interesting. I
The,
didn't know that.
the only thing that's missing is the heart region, which is the teal color, which is ironic because, again, hearts and minds of men.
I did see that it only has 6, which is like Satan's
Yes.
rainbow, right?
No. But again, the only one that's missing is the heart. But again, who's going to fill that at some point? I can just imagine. It's probably
It's
going to be like
interesting.
for peace.
Do you think they inverted it on purpose too?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Again, Pride Month. You take the last, what, 2 letters of Pride and you put month, MON, demon.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
to me, pride is the 7th deadly sin. It's not
Uh-huh.
a, it's not, I mean, to me, that's just so obvious, right?
Yep. Well, for us, but for other people that are, become arrogant and identify with their sexuality. Again, sexuality is connecting to Nimrod's family.
Right.
You're emphasizing that as your identity rather than, I don't care what you do in the bedroom. I care about you as an individual. That's what it should be.
Right. For sure.
Um, but again, Pan was known as a god who would play with a flute, and I was kind of chuckling because I'm showing deity telephone. As cultures move and they migrate, what happens? So do the mythologies. Pied Piper, he played with a pipe as well, led the kids astray. Well, who also would, lead kids astray or to take kids, and was a goat figure, Krampus. Again,
Krampus.
located in Germany. And again, Satan, it's like, no, it's Krampus, and Krampus would connect to Nimrod's son Tammuz and his child sacrificing, stealing the kids away, leading them all away. Again, what would Baphomet ultimately be doing with the mark of the beast? He's leading all the children to where? Hell, their final destination. Uh-huh.
Mm.
But again, we already know that the Baphomet aspect, again, another goat, but he's got wings. Baphomet's got wings. He's got the Caduceus staff. He's got the Caduceus staff. What do we see with Cupid? He looks just like the depiction of this little winged kid carrying a Caduceus staff named Tammuz. So
Right.
you see how it migrates and it just changes a little bit here with the lore and the storytelling, but it's ultimately the same character, just variants and equivalents and aspects of the same individual, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so let's give a little bit here. Did Hermes live in the underworld? He could move between realms. As a messenger to the gods, he was responsible for delivering messages to and fro from the mortal and divine worlds, and he was able to do this thanks to his winged sandals. Hermes also spent much of his time in the underworld helping carry the dead into Hades. What did Hermes do to the souls? An extension of the role protector of the travelers, one of Hermes's jobs was to lead the dead souls down into Hades. Interesting. Let's look into this a little bit more. CERN, or the Hadron Collider, opening stargates. Star again, star religion, star black rock. CERN is named after Cernunnos, the Celtic lord of hell. At CERN's headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland, it is a statue of Shiva doing the cosmic dance of destruction. Shiva is the Hindu avatar, the parallels Nimrod who built the Tower of Babel. CERN's Hadron Collider rings mirror the spirals of Saturn in the occult. Saturn in the dark sun, the prison planet of the fallen angels. CERN is designed to teleportation machine to Saturn. The secret mission of CERN is to unleash Apollo in the dark angels from the abyss and to create a stairway to heaven to make war with God Almighty. Again, guys, gonna man tampers with scripture. You know when Apollyon, the son of destruction or the destroyer, is mentioned in Revelation? Revelation 9:11.
Oh wow.
Apollyon, Apollo. I'm just saying. And what did I talk about with the eagle? Leads the souls to their final destination. What does Hermes do? He leads the souls into hell. What is an equivalent of Osiris? Cernunnos. Cernunnos or Osiris would connect to X,
Mm.
the X pose that they're always doing. Why? Because that's the crux between the Ouroboros. It's regeneration. One loop, second loop. You come back, you're reborn, regenerated. They have the same thing going on with them, like we got going on with us, but theirs is a lie. Ours actually gives us the way, the truth, and the life. But folks didn't know this, and CERN is where we get the internet from. Interesting, because we're
Did not
talking
know
about
that.
black cubes and black everything. So, and again, this is from homecern.com and web. So let's break down the word internet, shall we? Inter means a place for a corpse or a tomb, a grave for funeral rites. Interesting. And for a net, we have definition, I believe it was 8 or 10, an open meshed fabric twisted, knotted, or woven together at regular intervals, something made of a net, such as a device for catching fish, birds, or insects. World Wide Web. They're saying you're all trapped. You can't get out of here. Again, they're already saying that's another thing for a dome. Yeah, you're all trapped under our system. You can't get out. It's, sticky situation. And again, dead, cell phone, prison, The Walking Dead. Why? You listen to the theme of that intro to the thing. You'll listen again. You'll hear the sound. Ring, ring. It's a warden walking down with his little baton scraping the
Hmm.
bars. There's a reason they had a whole season where they were out of jail because it's symbolizing the Walking Dead or the people who are still alive.
Interesting.
Hmm?
I keep picturing, you remember in the old Superman with Christopher Reeves, the bad guys, the three
Yeah.
that were dressed in black, and then they got imprisoned and then sent back into space. And I don't know, when you were talking, it just like brought up those because I was so terrified of them as a kid,
Yep.
and they were so evil. And oh man. So anyway, you kind of brought back those crazy memories while you were talking.
So, well, again, some of that is again that's the pre-programming thing. That's just laying on your heart, like, oh, I get what that actually means now. Like, yeah.
Hmm.
So again, and I guess would tap into my Neuralink thing where it's like, yeah, one wants to save your soul from all of this because God so loved the, and the other ones are like, we want your bodies. That's it. We want bodies back because we haven't had them for over 70 generations since we were slain. That is what the word demon means. Is daemon means spirit being. It's
If
not
if I
fallen
can
angel. It's
if I can
yeah.
say anything, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Life's pretty tough, man. Like
Yeah. But again, what
seriously,
that's all they know because they never had the celestial aspect as Nephilim or whatever. They're just going like, "Mommy, Daddy, give me something back," and they're all locked up right now. They don't have visiting hours,
right?
but they
For sure.
want that so badly again. I think I was tapping into that with the Josh Monday, and I did a breakdown. I'm like, guys, yeah, like when Christ says um the phrase to them is like, if I did not say anything, the rocks would cry out in praise. Is he possibly talking about all those frozen mountain structures and stuff like that? The giants are going, we're lamenting, saying, I would literally praise him right now, as opposed to having man walk over me every single day and being just an eyesore. I'm stuck in this position for forever. Yeah. And that's kind of terrifyingly sad, but it also would explain how they're so super strong because they're literally the size of a frozen mountain, you know? But again, don't take my word for it, guys. This is the Hermetic Tree of Life. And again, I got this right off a Freemason page on Instagram. And if you look over here on the right, it has the top meaning light, the bottom meaning darkness, duality already being represented, spirit, body, and mind, the mortal trinity. Hence why I'm always saying it's the counterfeit that you are worshiping with Catholicism. This is why a lot of people who are in the occult, they don't see much of a difference. Or I've had a lot of former Catholics tell me they always feel like they're in a death ceremony or it's like a funeral when they go into a Catholic church. Why? Because they're focusing on the dead aspect. Christ is always still on the cross. It's like, why? Because you're worshiping the doppelganger. They want you to think you can become your own God ultimately.
That is something odd to have this constant reminder of him being at his worst,
Yes.
instead of at his best.
Mm-hmm. And again,
And
when was he at his best? When he started to indwell us, when the veil ripped in two, like I explained last time. That's beautiful, folks. You now have the chance to become a priest. It's no longer my people perish for lack of knowledge, and I'm going to deny them priesthood because you rejected knowledge. It's no, now you can represent. That's some phenomenal stuff, baby. You're a celestial ambassador.
for sure, yeah.
Um, but again, the top of the chakra here, we have the Sahasrara, the crown, and the Ajna, the third eye. But you notice that in the very center, it's the heart, it's the world. What does Christ say? Lay not your treasures on the things of this world. Mhm. And notice where Saturn is located. It's at the bottom, the root, near the pelvic region, the reproductive region. And again, why do they wear the aprons around that region? Yes, because it represents the phallic region. It represents Nimrod doing his mommy. It's very nasty religion, but
Hmm.
that's what we get. Over here, for the Gnostics, the activate the unconscious means to awaken the divine, the Devi, the one letter off from devil, Kundalini, to begin the development of the super personal within the individual in order to kindle the light of the gods, Kundalini, which is said to be awakened in sleeping Malahandra world. It is the super personal, the non ego. For this reason, Kundalini is the same principle as the Soter, the savior serpent to the Gnostics. That's Dr. Carl Jung. Found it kind of interesting that they're ever saying it's denying your ego when in actuality it's saying I could become my own god. Do you see how nastily subtle or like blatantly obvious it is for us, but they're over here just going.
Yep.
Then again, I took this other shot with the Janus from the Grand Lodge of Jerusalem with the little Masonic compass between the Janus heads. That should tell you a lot right there. And again, what's in the middle? A sun logo, black
Hmm.
and white, duality,
Duality.
father and son. Kabbalah and the tarot. So tarot cards does connect. Astrology, tarot, whatever, reading of the stars. Top part being a fire, regular triangle. An inverted triangle is water. Air is pointing upward with a regular triangle, but a line through the top part. And a saya is earth pointing downwards. Again, I'm just showing some visuals for context, but I'm going to be showing a little bit more what they mean. You notice anything on the right there, Alex?
Are we talking about the Statue of Liberty or?
Statue of Liberty, how it's pointing upward, and what did we get earlier with what was it? Mithra with a torch in one hand and a dagger in
Oh
another.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I remember you
Was
saying
his
that.
pointing upwards? And then
Hmm.
again, this is from the occult, the greater symbols of the pentagram, and that's one of the poses is pointing your arm upward. A direct match for the magician and Baphomet. You seeing? Yeah, it's all right there. So that's Hermes,
Hmm.
and it's in New York. And what happened in New York on 9/11? You want to have some fun? Let's
Sure.
break down the 365 days of the year. Like you said, we were off, right?
Yep.
3 plus 6, what does that equal?
9,
6 plus 5, what does that equal?
11,
9/11.
9/11.
We're worshiping the unknown. So it's okay. Okay, take the 3. What did I say 3 was? The triangle. Okay, and then what's the 6 equal? Star Remphan, Star David. 6 points. 3, 6. What's 5? Pentagram.
Hmm.
5, the number of man. 5G. Wait, connecting 5G, Starlink, yeah, the illusion. Where is that? It's on the pineal gland of Baphomet. It's in your, it's either going to be in your head or in your right hand. Yeah, guys, you seeing it. This is their Antichrist. This is the one that they wanted, not Christ. We're not going all the way to the top. We're just going to talk about the 2 top ones. But Baina is the feminine name of Hebrew. This is one of the tiers you can get on the chakra tree of life. Our origin to remind the baby to keep its mind, their mind open, and translates the knowledge, insight, and understanding. And what does the Bible say in contrast? Well, in Proverbs 3, 5 through 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not rely on your own understanding or insight. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. Well, what's on the other side? Well, the other side is a chakma. And a chakma is the biblical Hebrew word rendered for wisdom. Like, no, you're not going to achieve wisdom on some tree of life. Because what does God say? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. All who follow his precepts have good understanding. To him belongs eternal praise. And that's Psalms 111 and 10. So again, we're seeing where they're trying to draw away, whereas the Bible's always constantly saying, no, I need to submit. I need to respect. I need to have reverence for Creator God the Father. They're saying we can do this through the elements. Over here, this tree of death or the kaflaf means peels, shells, or the husk represent the reverse side of the tree of life. The 10 Sephiroth is the divine emanations. These counterforces represents the shadow life unity and duality in its totality. Totality. Ugh, that's a tongue twister. Tree of life. But you notice anything? They have the Star of David at the top, or Star of Remphan with the all-seeing eye in the center. You reverse, you go to the roots, and you have the same thing, but it goes to the abyss, and it has Baal as a Carrara Baal. At the very bottom, it's Moloch, which means star, and yeah, so they have all this here. And it has the pentagram down there.
Hmm.
So as above, as below. This is mommy, this is daddy. This is above the tree, this is below. And then they have the hanged man, and then a serpent wrapped around a stick. Very similar to the serpent that we see wrapped around a stick, the bronze serpent that Moses made in the wilderness. Why? Because like I stated before, you guys want those things? Fine, fine. I'll give you one of those. But this is one that's made by one of my guys. You want to buy those poisonous ideologies? No, you're gonna look to me. Okay. But you really want, so it was literally a parody of making mockery. That's constantly what God is constantly doing, is mocking the other gods through their own symbolism by playing their game. Even with Elijah with the ox and the altar, when he's trolling the priests of Baal and Ashtaroth, maybe he's sleeping. No, 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 no. That connects to a lot of the Mithraic lore. So he's always calling out the doppelganger and trolling them. That's what's so beautiful about it, is yes, you control the liars because you know they can't light up, pour 3 buckets of water on top of the altar and then suddenly it lights on fire. Can't be done unless you are the top dog god. Can't be done. But anyways, the what do we got with the hanged man? Is the reverse position. The hanged man indicates that time for them is waiting is over. It suggests that one's romantic life may have experienced a slowdown, leading to a period of reflection. This newfound perspective might propel one to make changes or to take action. What is the opposite of a hanged man? Well, the opposite, as a hanged man card, usually involves sacrifice, insight, and the inverse would also refusal to surrender what needs to be surrendered, or the refusal to see things from a new perspective. Again, I'm just chuckling because they wanted to put Christ on a cross. What did that require? A surrendering of will, a sacrifice. He's
Hmm.
playing their game, just like with Narnia. Don't recite the dark magic to me, witch. I was there when it was written. I understand what that would entail. Same thing with them. He says, you want to play that game? We'll play that game. Okay? You want me to be sacrificed on your altar? We'll play that game.
I was just going to say that it's a very interesting drawing. I've never seen that before, so I'll definitely be taking a look. into that some more and
Sure
figuring
thing.
out which all the little pieces of that puzzle. I thought that was fascinating. So thanks for showing that, Brandon.
Yeah, no problem. Just building a little context of the connections of Catholicism with you-ish, the tree worshippers, and connecting also to Freemasonry. The Knights Templar was a Masonic order. It is highly suspected. I could do a whole episode on this, probably will, as no such thing as the Holy Land, because that's going to make a lot of people upset. But if you do a breakdown, you'll be like, I get it now. But it is alleged that the Jewish elders, when they were kicked out of Rome in AD 70 after the temple was destroyed, that they went to a little place that was very similar to where Caesarea region was. And they started formulating a plot to try to go back and reclaim the Holy Land, or to at least obtain the sacred relics of their religion, which would connect to the Baphomet lore of we found the seal of Solomon, Star Remphan, on the ring, and we were able to start, we noticed we had power over demonic forces, so they started spitting on crosses and such. King Philip of France was looking at the Pope and going, "Yo, this is kind of blasphemous. What the heck are they doing? I think you should destroy them." And so this is where we get Friday the 13th and the slaughter of the Knights Templar. And everybody's like, "Okay, well they just got wiped out." No, they didn't. They went underground and formed the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, or the Gentile equivalent. They invited some Gentiles in on this. This is the founding of our wonderful America. Anyways, the doctrines of Freemasonry are influenced to a great extent by the Roman Catholic doctrines and history. In 1754, the first 25 degrees of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry were written by the Jesuits in the College of the Jesuits in Clermont in Paris for the purpose of restoring to power the Jesuit control the House of Stuart to the throne of England. There are a series of degrees in the Masonic York Rite hierarchy known as the Order of Knights Templar. The Knights Templar was an organization founded in 1118 AD. The Templars received papal sanctions as a Catholic order, the Order of the Knights of Christ. In 1128, are recognized as the first Roman Catholic crusaders. The Templars were known as the Militia of Christ. The Jewish character of the Catholic rites and Freemasonry cannot be understated. Albert Pike explains in The Secrets of Masonry and the Doctrinal Bible of Freemasonry, Morals and Dogma, quote, Masonry is the search for light that leads us directly back, as you will see, to the Kabbalah, Kabbalistic tree of life. So let's dig in a little bit further. Take, for example, the celebrated rabbi known throughout the Jewish religious world as the Gaon of Vilna. It was he who taught the Kabbalah's doctrine inside the Judaism tree of life. There resides a great and sacred serpent whose masculine name is Leviathan and whose feminine name is Malkut. It is the sacred serpent of the Kabbalah that teaches that in the coming messianic age shall rise from the abyss to conquer the Gentiles and exalt God's chosen, the Yews. This Leviathan, the holy piercing serpent, is expected Messiah prophesied to appear, the one who has supernaturally possessed the bodies of the world's Yews and lead them to global domination and glory. This is a strange doctrine accepted by the vast majority of today's Orthodox rabbis. Also makes the bold claim that the Jews are a race of wise and virtuous serpent beings. Collectively, world Jewry is claimed to be the very incarnation on earth of the Holy Serpent. Could this be what the true Messiah, the Lord of the universe, Jesus Christ, meant when he confronted the wicked Pharisaic Jews, equivalent of today's Orthodox Jewry, Zionists, by flatly declaring, Ye serpents, ye generation of vipers? Don't know, but we're going to keep building up to this because I want you guys to, and again, I'm emphasizing you. I'm emphasizing the Z's. I'm not condemning an entire ethnicity. I am going after an ideology. You have a pen and paper and you've been listening thus far, write this down. The Other Israel, Ted Pike. It's a documentary. You can find it on BitChute or YouTube channel because I censor it when you try to write it in just like that. We Woke Now YouTube channel. And when you watch that, you will understand what the Babylonian Talmud is. It is very, very satanic doctrine. So I'd highly look into that before you start saying, no, if you understand what they actually believed and that Christ is boiling an excrement in their texts in hell, you might want to look into that. Oh, and they also called Jesus a donkey. So just making note of that, folks. But let's continue with what their own quotes are saying throughout history. The transactions of the Yewish Historical Society, the coat of arms used by the Grand Lodge of England, is entirely composed of Yewish symbols. Rabbi B.R. Isaac Wise in The Israelites of America in 1866, Masonry is a Jewish institution whose history, degrees, charges, passwords, and explanations are Jewish from the beginning to end. Again, an O.B. Good, M.A., The Hidden Hand of Judah. The influence of the Jewish Sanhedrin is today more powerful than ever in Freemasonry. Sanhedrin was the guys that executed Jesus, remember? Just make note of that, folks. The Encyclopedia of Freemasonry in 1906. Each lodge is and must be a symbol of the Jewish temple, each master in the chair representative of the Jewish king, and every Mason is the personification of a Jewish workman. And finally, in the Jewish Tribune of 1927, it states, Masonry is based on Judaism. Eliminate the teachings of Judaism from the Masonic ritual and what is left. And there's a book here, Freemasonry and Judaism. It costs a fortune, but it has a Masonic compass on there with a half crux of a Ouroboros snake interweaving through it. And then it has the Star of Remphan on the other side. And it's by Vicomte Leon de Poncins. Probably butchering that, but you probably won't be able to afford it anyway, so it doesn't matter. But just showing you there's a book out there that shows the interconnective aspects.
How much do you
Anything
think
you
that
want
book
to say?
goes for?
I think I was looking it up. I was seeing something like 400 to 500 price range.
Ouch.
Yeah.
I guess they're not doing print on demand on Amazon.
No. The one I did find with the Cult of Soul Invictus, it was $94 via the Brill, which is some of the picture stuff I've read for you. And I'm like, well, no wonder. It's because if you read this, you're just like, yeah, this is the foundation of Catholicism. That's how, like, I'm reading it. And I'm like, pontifices were known as like, guys,
All
sorry,
right.
but if you
So
read it and you
I,
share it,
I'm just gonna put out an APB to all the firmamentalists out there for Freemasonry and Judaism. If you got yourself a PDF copy, give us the bootleg and we can share it through the community because none of us are spending $400 on this book.
mm-mm, mm-mm. All right, so next one's going to be a video. Hopefully it plays. Let me know if you can hear it.
And on June 14th, 1946, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God gave us Trump. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, fix this country, work all day, fight the Marxists, eat supper, then go to the Oval Office and stay past midnight at a meeting of the heads of state. So God made Trump. I need somebody with arms, strong enough to rustle the deep state, and yet gentle enough to deliver his own grandchild. Somebody to ruffle the feathers, tame cantankerous World Economic Forum, come home hungry, have to wait until the First Lady is done with lunch with friends, then tell the ladies to be sure and come back real soon, and mean it. So God gave us Trump. I need somebody who can shape an axe, but wield a sword, who had the courage to step foot in North Korea, who can make money from the tar of the sand, turn liquid to gold, who understands the difference between tariffs and inflation, will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon, but then put in another 72 hours. So God made Trump. God had to have somebody willing to go into the den of vipers, call out the fake news for their tongues as sharp as a serpent's. The poison of vipers is on their lips, and yet stop. So God made Trump. God said, I need somebody who will be strong and courageous, who will not be afraid or terrified of the wolves when they attack, a man who cares for the flock, a shepherd to mankind who won't ever leave nor forsake them. I need the most diligent worker to follow the path and remain strong in faith and know the belief of God and country, somebody who's willing to drill, bring back manufacturing and American jobs, farm the lands, secure our borders, build our military, fight the system all day, and finish a hard week's work by attending church on Sunday. And then his oldest son turns and says, Dad, let's make America great again. Dad, let's build back a country to be the envy of the world again. So God made Trump.
Now, a few of you who are just listening to the audio are probably wondering, what the heck does that have to do with anything you've been talking about with the Kabbalah, or, why you got to trash my boy right at this point in time? Well, this was shared by Paula White, his spiritual advisor for the campaign for 2024. And her last, like, if you keep going for the four parts of her name, her last name is Cain.
Hmm.
And it was very highly alleged that Cain was the guy that, after he got, poo-pooed by God saying, I didn't like your sacrifice, you slayed your brother, going to give you a mark. That mark, I'm highly suspecting, was probably the Harry Potter mark with the little zing. Again, I'm saying that because based off the author and what we've already discussed with the Baphomet aspect, and he was going, if there's any celestial being up there, I will give you a sacrifice of my daughters if you will show me how to make war against heaven. Okay, they're kind of hot. Why not? They come down, create the Nephilim. They come down where? Atop of Mount Hermon. Again, do I have proof? No, but I think we can see a story going on here, and it's coincidental that he has a lady spiritual advisor, last name Cain, spelled the same exact way. Secondly, we hear several phrases in here affiliating Trump with God and God needing him. What was he called? Shepherd of for mankind. Not America, mankind. What was Tammuz known as? A shepherd. Dumuzid. There's also the phrase of make money from the tar of the sand, turn liquid to gold. What did we read about the Emerald Tablet with Alexander the Great? That allegedly the Emerald Tablets had the secrets of turning gold
Yeah,
from alchemy. They're
creating gold.
affiliating this with Mr. T. There's more, but I'm just building a little context because people are going, no, no, no. Or they're saying it's Obama. They're saying this. And they're saying, well, okay. So people, I'm presenting this to you because if we are getting close to the last days and their Messiah figure was Hermes, okay, come on, Brandon. Where are you going with this? All right, let's keep going. Gonna keep going. So Trump, did you know that his father's name was Frederick Christ and his mother's was Mary Ann? His aunt's name was Martha, by the way. Very coincidental, all I'm sure. But the Babylon working was a series of magic ceremonies or rituals performed in January to March 1946 by the author and pioneer rocket fuel scientist and occultist Jack Parsons and Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard. Now, Jack Parsons was a part of the Apollo thing I'm sure you're already familiar with. And when he started failing in some of his projects, you know who he prayed to? The goat god Pan. Pan is an equivalent of Baphomet, so or Tammuz is, you know. So the ritual was essentially designed to manifest an individual incarnation of the archetypical divine feminine called Babylon. The project was based on the ideas of Aleister Crowley and his description of a similar project in 1917, the novel Moonchild. Now, fun fact, the name Dawn comes from Dan or the tribe of Dan. Did you know what Dan used to do? They didn't raise the menorah on their flags. They raised the eagle. The eagle. What did I say about, that leads the souls to their final destination? It's very interesting. But Dan can also come, or Dawn, can come from Adonis. And you know what Adonis was? That's the equivalent of Tammuz in the Sumerian Dumazid. Yeah. Western equivalent, Eastern Western equivalent, Levantine equivalent. Again, Moonchild. Moon would be feminine, but so we were talking about Malkut. Malkut is feminine. Leviathan is masculine, but it's at the bottom of the Hermetic tree of life. Trump was born in 1946. Big whoop. A lot of people were, but let's break that down. 1 plus 9 for gematria equals 10. X. Whoops. That would be equal X. And then we get 46, which is equals another 10. X. So double X would equal Osiris and Nimrod, or Nimrod and Tammuz. And then we get June, the month of June, which again, that's the month of Tammuz. And he's born on the 14th. 1 plus 4 equals 5. What did I tell you the number of man is? 5.
5.
And again, the unholy celestial, and he's born on Flag Day. All the worlds unite. The Pythagorean number of man, and again, penta is Latin for 5, and gram means the god or goat ram, 5G, Baphomet's forehead. And Trump was the guy that signed 5G, expanding things into law right before he left office. 9/11, you put a 1 in front of an X, 9. You put a 1 after an X, you get 11. You merge them together. If you're watching this visually, you'll see, but eventually you'll start forming into the Star of Remphan. And Islamic mysticism, Jewish mysticism, and Western occultism. It's very interesting. But again, the Bible Revelation, 9/11, Apollo, Apollyon. I said 9, what did I say earlier? 9/11 was coronation day for kings in ancient Israel. You know when Corona happened? Exactly 19 years later. 1 + 9, X. What do we have coming up? Disease X. At a certain point, folks, okay, I'm nutsy cuckoo, but they're doing a lot of symbolism for us. Israel's Supreme Court, the all-seeing eye atop of it with a little pyramid. In Yelet, Israel, we have the little Masonic pyramid as well going on with the Masonic compass slapped right on top. You see in the IRS, it has the little eagle again. IRS, Osiris, Iris, Siri. You spell Siri backwards. Hey, Siri, what's an iris? Yeah, you're saying, yeah. Yeah. They're already trolling you guys. It's in our everyday culture. But you notice the IRS is between two pillars, the little thing in front of the building, and it has the little Masonic pyramid going on. And again, pyramid, the all-seeing eye atop of it. Well, let's look into pyramids. What's the significance here? In reality, no pharaohs were buried in pyramids. Contrary to popular opinion, the pyramids could be considered more as a monument to the godlike majesty of the Egyptian king. Even the word pharaoh is a misnomer, since it simply means great house, or white house, big house. He's the guy that lived in the big house down the street. So where was Hermes Trismegistus buried? In some versions of the legend, Hermes Trismegistus was not only a god, but an ancient Egyptian alchemist who had taken his name from Hermes and was buried in a chamber in the Great Pyramid of Giza. Break down the word pyramid. Pi, fire, Ra of the sun, mid, in your midst. Fire of the sun in your midst. Come on, Brandon. Look into Prometheus. Allegedly stole fire from the gods. And you see that picture? Doing a little hush pose. Again, what was Mithra? He was born with a fire torch in one hand and a knife in the other. And you see it's similar to the Statue of Liberty. You see it's similar to the pose of Baphomet, you know? Staying alive, staying alive. Yeah. And you're loving the things of this earth while you're doing so. But again, what does it say in Revelation 11:7? When they had finished their testimony, the beast that comes up out of the abyss to make war with them and overcome them and kill them. It says saints. So again, I'm not sure about the rapture thing, but and again, what movie just came out or trailer recently? Godzilla versus Kong. Or Godzilla and Kong, they're together. And instead of doing the end or an N with a little apostrophe, what do they got? An X. Why an X? Since when have we been writing and with an X? I've never seen that, but X means new beginning, rebirth, reborn. And what do we see here? First thing in the trailer, the dust at the base of a pyramid is busting open, the beast from the earth and the beast of the sea. Right over next part is Godzilla. And what do we see over here? Fake Jesus with his arms spread out in Brazil, or Hermetic Messiah figure, messenger between the gods after Project Bluebeam comes on to intermediate between the fallen. Yeah. Oh, the aliens are come back. We need somebody to talk for us. Take me to your leader. Yeah. Again, they're showing you. And again, folks, look at the Neuralink aspect of things. You see the grid. They did it with buildings. Now they're starting to do it with man. The all-seeing eye, Neuralink, and you see what the logo is on the Neuralink? It's a Ouroboros or a boomerang. Yeah. And again, the Israeli Supreme Court, it looks just like Lucifer rising with the sun over the pyramid at the very tip. Yeah. Wrapping up. Physical world, it's pointing down when you're doing the sign of the pentagram, water. And again, this would connect to the Saturn black cube. You see Trump doing this in the photo, far right, that little pose. And he does that a lot. I could have gotten like 6 other photos, but I just want to keep it simple. But yeah, he's pointing at a black Kabbalah cube. In World Economic Forum. Trump, champion of Noahide laws, Israeli National News 2020 by Nathan Sav. And we got over here in 1991, March 20th, you have a little group of Jewish rabbis all standing around Bush. And you see that one individual who's looking at the camera cheekily as he sticks his hand inside of his jacket. Doesn't sound like Noahide laws would be a good thing if we already built all this stuff off of Masonry and connecting to Nimrod. But again, all presidents have signed this or reaffirmed it, and President Trump silently affirms the Jewish Noahide laws on Thursday, April 4th of 2019. Fourth month, fourth day equals 8, a Ouroboros.
What are the
Note that,
Noahide laws?
or next slide.
All right, good.
Right, context is everything. I'm here for it. It might be long, but I'm thorough. Noahide laws. So we get over here in Apocalypse, aka another term for Revelation 24. And I saw the thrones, and they that sat on them, and the judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them who were beheaded for the witness of Jesus. Don't know if so. I'm just saying, guys, either we're going to get a rapture and it's going to be because you were awake and you were sounding an alarm and you were an Elijah Enoch, or he makes war against the saints, which is, I don't know where that stands. I don't really care. I'm willing to lose my head for him. I just saying, don't put your faith in a rapture and then lose all your focus of being a disciple. That makes any sense. Live your life as long as you can. But the 7 Noahide laws, and they sound great, but let's go. They are 7 major categories, which basically it consists of 30 laws, but these are the primary. 1 is respecting God, do not blaspheme. 2, being faithful to God. And 3, respecting human life and not to kill. And 4, respecting one's fellow's property, not to steal. And 5, respecting the integrity of the family. And 6, respect of life. And 7, law and order. Well, these all sound great, right? Well, it would, but who's their God? What's their definition? Let's look into that. The Yews themselves, in their devilish religion of Judaism, admit that their God is the serpent. Their leaders well know that this is the devil, the Devi, or Satan. In some type of creepy, eerie doctrinal confession, the rabbis are even discovered to be boasting of their sacred serpent, and they say that the Yews live inside of its belly. Is this not an unbelievable revelatory? Who do we see described in the Bible as the serpent? It is none other than Satan himself. And the great dragon was cast out, the old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world, and he cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Revelation 12:9. Dr. Chica Flint examined the Jewish esoteric hidden teaching about Leviathan and concluded that the Jewish God is not the holy God of the Bible, but is rather a heathen God made up of both good and evil. Flint states that Jehovah is said to be a cruel and oppressive deity whose strict rules and laws must be obeyed if he is to be appeased. Contrast Jehovah's other half, the serpent, whom they call Lucifer, is a god of freedom and enlightenment and liberty. Whereas Jehovah is merciless and foreboding. The serpent god is claimed to be a free-spirited, and he encourages pleasure, and his motto is, do as thou wilt. And remember, being flat earther, what do we already get with the base with Sheol is the great Leviathan from the abyss. What do we get in Revelation? He lets the Antichrist come up and the 4 angels come out from under the river Euphrates. So we already see how Sheol connects to a Leviathan figure. How does this connect with anything that I've been talking about thus far? Let's read this part. The earthly god of Judaism, who is androgynous, connecting to hermaphrodite or pansexual, is known as Leviathan or Malkut. Leviathan is an evil god adapted by the rabbis as the god of the Yews during their captivity in ancient Babylon. Flint explains, Leo Sheah, the universal meaning of the Kabbalah, says the wisdom of the Kabbalah returned to Israel after the captives were set free by Cyrus, the Persian conqueror of Babylon. And some rabbis and many of the people returned to Jerusalem to rebuild the destroyed temple. This is why the Talmud, the Halakha law books of the Jews, are called the Babylonian Talmud. This is also why centuries later, Jesus in Jerusalem bluntly told the Jews that their religion, Phariseeism, or what we call today Orthodox Judaism, was based on man-made traditions, aka Kabbalah, and were not given God-given teachings of the Old Testament of the prophets. Jesus further explains theirs were the commandments of hell, and their new converts to Judaism thus became twice the devils that their teachers were. What a stunning yet entirely truthful indictment of the Jews' religion. The Yews exoterically depict Leviathan as an evil beast from the sea who will be hunted and killed by the Yews. His flesh will provide food for the Yews of Jerusalem, and his hide will be a tent for the pious. This is clearly an exoteric portrayal with much deeper occult meaning. If the Leviathan is a gregarious god of the Yews, it makes no sense that the Leviathan would be hunted down and eaten by the Yews, unless the hunting of the Leviathan is a metaphor for anti Semitic persecution of the Jewish people that is fostered and furthered by the Zionist Jews themselves. Is eating of the flesh of Leviathan a satanic twist on what Jesus stated, "Whoso eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood hath eternal life, and I will raise him up on the last day. For my flesh is meat indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. He that eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood dwelleth in me, and I in him." John 6:54 through 56. Flint explains the esoteric teaching of the Kabbalah that accepts the evil of Leviathan, who is a god of war that will subjugate the earth under Jewish rule. God gives the righteous Jews serpentine protection through the magical ability to summon the serpents from the lower regions. We give the Denver airport to come and do their bidding. Ultimately, say the rabbis, through their supernatural magic, Leviathan himself will take up their cause, encircle the earth, destroy their enemies, and finally serve as light of the world and covering defender for the holy city of Jerusalem. The worship of Leviathan, the Jewish serpent deity, is esoteric worship of Satan. Flint explains. More pertinent to the discussion at hand is the revelation that the Judaic religion, indeed in its Kabbalistic aspects, literally advocates and practices veneration, admiration, and worship of the serpent as deity. Jesus' bold and truthful declaration to the Jews was that by their wicked acts, and as a result of their religion being man-made and based on the traditions of the elders, that they would prove in the generation that is a nation of people, an offspring of vipers. The Lord's exact words were, "Ye serpents, ye generation of vipers, how can ye escape the damnation of hell?" Matthew 23:33. Now, there was an interview back in the 1970s, and you guys can look up these exact quotes by Harold Wallace Rosenthal, and he literally stated, "The Jews don't like to admit it, but their God is Satan." Yeah, his words, not mine. And he gave basically a tell-all interview, and they offed him 30 days later in Istanbul. Apparently, he wanted money for a gambling debt. You have a question, Alex? Because you look very puzzled and thoughtful.
I'm just thinking. I'm just sad listening to this. It's
It is sad. Breaks my heart
yeah.
too.
I mean, what did they say? It's the God of Abraham, and yeah, I'm just it's interesting, and we put all these pieces together, and it's yeah, it would be very interesting to have a rabbi on at the same time and have a discussion about these things. I am no biblical expert.
Usually, a regular rabbi, a lot of them are good, but when you're going to the Orthodox and the other, the ones that are promoting all the other stuff, they're going to be condemning a lot of it.
I mean, obviously, if we had a Catholic priest earlier in here, he'd be not impressed either. But it's just like,
That's why I'm against all denominations, my friend. Ours is a faith, theirs is a religion. They love defending their denomination, whereas we're supposed to be defending our Christ, which is why we're set apart. A lot of them don't understand that. They love the traditions of men. That's the saddest part. It's really sad. You liked getting dressed up, You like your titles, your positions, I'm a deacon, I'm a this, and everybody looks up to me, and it's just like, no, oh no. It's about humility, it's about getting down and washing some feet. But get back to what we were saying, what you said at the Abrahamic Accords. Who got called the second Cyrus? Trump. Their words, not mine, and that's supposed to be their Messiah figure who's supposed to save the world from the Jews. And we got some temple coins here, one of them, and you see how it's a scimitar. Scimitars were affiliated with beheading of Christians. We have a Saturn planet at the very tip We have a dove flying towards it with a little olive branch in his mouth, and we've already talked about the olive branch connecting with Hermes. And you look around, folks, you will find a lot of photos of affiliating Trump with a dove, such as the Economics magazine with a silhouette, 2024, showing Trump in the background and a dove right next to his picture. You see a rocket flying into space. You see a satellite. Yeah, you see a palm tree, which might explain what happened over in Hawaii. You see in syringes
Yep.
and a satellite, and you see like DNA structure. It's all written there, and it's got Donald Trump's signature name on there. And this is a rear of the Abrahamic Accords medallion temple coin. But if you go over to the right a little bit further, we have a temple coin with a dove with an olive branch in his head and his mouth flying in front of the temple. And on the left side, you have the menorah sitting over both King Cyrus's head and Donald Trump sitting in a silhouette-like fashion in front of Cyrus. And there's a lion on the left side, and there is the eagle on the right. Now, come on, Brandon. Where are you going with all of this? Well, we said tree of life, right? Okay. We said that their serpent being was Melkut, correct? And he is supposed to rid the world of all the bad guys saying anti-Semitic stuff. And okay, so he's actually calling out modern Pharisees like Christ was doing. So that's biblically accurate, folks. You're calling out the synagogue of Satan mentioned in Revelation 3:9. Or, in Catholicism would be another head of that same serpent. Masonry would be another head of that same serpent. Just giving some folks context. I want you to know you can be brave as a Christian. I'm giving you context so you're not being, condemned. You can be like, I know what I believe in, despite what the world's saying, but I'm giving you context, and now I'm going to hurt you really bad. Because this is a clip from one of Trump's rallies right after the synagogue of shooting that happened in Pennsylvania. Remember that? Tree of Life Synagogue?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Let me know if you can hear it.
Before going any further, I want to address the horrible shooting that took place earlier today. The hearts of all Americans are filled with grief following the monstrous killing of Jewish Americans at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You've all seen it. You've been watching it. It's horrible. The suspect is in custody. The federal authorities are on the scene and leading an aggressive federal investigation. State and local law enforcement has been incredible. This evil anti-Semitic attack is an assault on all of us. It's an assault on humanity. It will require all of us working together to extract the hateful poison of anti-Semitism from our world. This was an anti-Semitic attack at its worst. The scourge of anti-Semitism cannot be ignored, cannot be tolerated, and it cannot be allowed to continue. We can't allow it to continue. It must be confronted and condemned everywhere it rears its very ugly head. We must stand with our Jewish brothers and sisters to defeat anti-Semitism and vanquish the forces of hate. That's what it is. Through the centuries, the Jews have endured terrible persecution, and you know that. We've all read it, we've studied it. They've gone through a lot. And those seeking their destruction, we will seek their destruction. And when you have crimes like this, whether it's this one or another one on another group, we have to bring back the death penalty. They have to pay the ultimate price. They have to pay the ultimate price. They can't do this. They can't do this to our country. We must draw a line in the sand and say very strongly, never again.
I'm not sure if you're able to hear the cheering from your end because sometimes it doesn't play that ass. Yeah, it was kind of like, are you guys serious? He's saying death
Um,
And
and my whole thing is it made me really sad. It's like just calling for more blood, more killing,
yes.
and they're blood hungry, right? Like the crowd
Again,
is
people are
going,
saying, "Oh, it's not like 1930." It's exactly, but instead it's against Christians. It's already being prepped for us. Fun fact, folks, you look into the Sons of Liberty from the American Revolution, and their caps were red. Red. Red caps connecting with wizards. Caps originally go back to that, and they actually mean fool. But what's his name? Mithra was known for wearing a little cap that kind of looks a little bit like an elf hat. Fun fact, MAGA January 6th, let's break that one down. January 6th is the day that allegedly Christ was baptized by John the Baptist. It is also the day that allegedly he was visited by the wise men.
Hmm.
The wise men, you know, the magi, root word for magi, MAGA.
oh, really?
MAGA means mage or great illusionist.
Hmm.
MAGA, highest priest position on the Church of Satan website. MAGA in Sanskrit, high priest of the sun.
Hmm.
Now, what did I just lay out all for you? Sun god worship, Hermeticism. And again, now you're hearing this is their Malkut. Babylon, again, Malkut was the feminine version. What was Babylon working? The feminine bringing into an Antichrist figure. L. Ron Hubbard literally said they want to create the Antichrist figure with the founding of the Church of Scientology. Trump's got connections with them, with money stuff. You guys can look it up. I'm not making it up. No, Brandon, you're wrong. Well, how come Trump's doing the esoteric 666 at the Tree of Life, the Kabbalah Tree of Life at his business office in New York, which means divine king? Yeah. Well, no, Brandon, you're wrong. Okay, let's pick up one of his own books, right? Trump, Way to the Top. And on page 188, we get the paragraph of one day, my Kabbalah teacher, Eaton Yardini, right there, Kabbalah teacher. Well, you know, Eaton Yardini's got a connection with Zohar translations. And well, what's the Zohar? The Zohar, a collection of commentaries that define Kabbalah or Jewish mystical thoughts and outlines the astrology behind the prophecy. The Zohar states explicitly that the messianic process will be accompanied with several stars appearing. The Zohar goes into great depth describing how many stars and which colors they will be. Rabbi Bershaisim. And what did I tell you about Jeremiah 10:2? Be not like the pagans who look to the stars. What do the Magi do? Now remember, if you're the Pharisees and you're wanting the Hermes, you're wanting Tammuz to return. It wasn't just liberate us from the Romans. It was we want our guy so we can ascend to become our own gods. And the Magi come and visit Christ, the imposter. That's already one thing where they're going, even the other guys who study the stars are noticing something here. But I wrote this because, again, you said you didn't want to get in trouble. So, guys, I'm just throwing this out here as a Christian. Please take this under consideration. I wish you Christians who are calling us anti-Semitic were adamant about calling out Trump for his constant blasphemous and intentional affiliations of himself with Christ. And you have this AI picture here depicted of, you know, Trump hanging on a cross with the American flag as his little underwear tunic aspect of things. You have Nancy Pelosi piercing him in the side like a Roman soldier, and you have Melania washing his feet. And again, this little comic version of I'm being indicted for you. Yeah, because you need a persecuted Messiah. Because everyone's going to be like, yeah, because it's all theater for you.
Could you imagine if that was like him doing like Muslim stuff? I mean, the whole country would be burning down because you know what? They don't take crap like this. It's
Mm-hmm.
hilarious to me, hilarious and sad that Christians, you know, they get we just, you know, rolls off our back. This is just a
Mm-hmm.
joke or whatever. No, this is like you said, it's completely blasphemous and nobody's flipping tables and going crazy. Like we should be going crazy over this kind of crap.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously.
They're still looking at Obama. They're still throwing tomatoes at Biden. And it's like, listen to your guy. Because if
Yeah.
he comes back, he'll save all of humanity, the Western world, which is all we see, is our world. That's really sad. But
Hmm.
again, go off of his own Instagram. I screenshotted it. He's sitting next to Jesus in his courtroom during his trial. You look at that picture. Notice anything? It's 11 stars from the American flag and 2 stripes. 9/11. Sorry,
Mm.
nine stars. And it's draped over his face. Again, guys. And again, this is taken back, I think it was 2019-17 when he went to go visit the Wailing Wall. Trump says the Yews should love him because he's almost literally Jesus. That's by Jonathan Chait, spelled Chait.
That's crazy.
Now, I had an individual that was messaging me. And again, he's one of those individuals that has a kid, doesn't really check all my posts for building up of context, doesn't have time for a podcast. But he told me, "You're wrong. Trump's not anything. He's just another guy, just some other dum-dum, and he's just a red herring." Okay. He said he's not popular, right? Well, with all the liberals getting the magic juice and dropping like flies, and you just saw the blood-hungry followers he's got, you already got, most of the world likes him. Let's be honest here. If you had to pick one guy out of all the world, it's either going to be Putin or Mr. T. And a lot of people lean towards Mr. T because he makes Putin kiss his, so we're leaning towards Mr. T, right? So what does Israel think about him? Let's play a little clip, and I'm only going to play the English part. Listen to the lyrics. Did you hear that? Jerusalem's prince, to the sky he will reach. For our Lord, he fights like a lion. There was a lion on the temple court. Guys, they should love me because I'm almost literally. You know what another variation of Trump's name is? The last name? Okay, let's break that one down for you folks. So remember when I said the little staff of Osiris with the little pine cone was on there? And Dionysus, as our equivalents of Nimrod or his avatar selves that he saw himself as? Fun fact about Dionysus. In parades that were honoring the Dionysus, who is the masked god of theater. You were masked in 2020, didn't you? Anyways, another variation of Trump would be reaching back to the root word etymology-wise of triumph, which was a phrase used in parades to the Greek god Dionysus. Dionysus was half-brother to Apollo. Nimrod did his own mother, so therefore it would be his half-brother.
Wow.
Another name for Trump is to deceive. Donald means world ruler. And if you're going by the other variation of Trump's definition of his name, Trump means to one-up somebody else. Who, I wonder? Antichrist. I'm just going to go through the video. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I want you to see a little symbol that we're all familiar with Masonry, right? And here we go. Little hush pose. Very Masonic. Very Masonic.
With a globe in the back.
Right? Apollyon, rockets trying to breach the firmament. Who signed Space Force? Guys, come on.
Space Force. Oh my God, help us. This is why
You
flat Earth is so
turn the
important.
cap upside down. Yeah, you turn the cap upside down of the Space Force caps. It's Baphomet's head.
Right? Yeah, I've seen
And
that.
who did I just say Baphomet is? Hermes. So, yeah. And so Jason Shurka, who is the little Kabbalistic tutelage for Trump's Tiffany Trump. You have him here with this photo that's going on here. You have him standing next to Trump's ex-wife, and you see Trump's little Kabbalistic black cube in front of the Trump Tower. It's known as the Tower of Light. I did a breakdown on the Occult Rejects. You can find that on YouTube of symbolism at Trump Tower. He's not got one, not two, but three sun god relics up in his penthouse apartment in New York. One of them being Helios riding between two pillars with a pentagram and an all-seeing eye between two said pillars. On top of that, he's got a statuette of Eros making out with Psyche. Love of your mind. Mind control. I don't know, folks. But Eros would be an equivalent of Cupid. And again, Jason Shurka as well, folks, has really big ties with Tony Robbins. So make note of that.
Tony Robbins loves the Clintons, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
That's a huge red flag for me. I went to go see Tony Robbins live, and it was pretty good. But, man, once I heard him tell stories about Clintons, I was like, oh, man, that's it. It's over.
Yeah, and he also helped the Sound of Freedom movie. It's like, guys, at a certain point...
Right.
A lot of people were giving me hate for that, but then after a couple of weeks, they had their more, guys that they liked, and they're like, hate to tell you, you were right. I'm like, thank you. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to show you. Do not be deceived. Ephesians 5:11, have no part with fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. That's what I'm trying to do in helping you folks.
Right.
So just breaking down what I was talking about with the Wailing Wall. This so-called divine presence at the Wailing Wall is actually the Kabbalistic feminine emanation of their false god, the Shekinah. The rabbis thrust their pelvises and penises back and forth to prescribe the prayer movement as a davening, in which the Yews copulates with Shekinah in order to give birth to an erotic union of the Ein Sof, and the Kabbalistic masculine emanation of depraved satanic ritual of their false and Satan's seat at the Wailing Wall. And their politicians brought here by the Yews are carrying him all the way back home to America. And the Kabbalah doctrine is the holy serpent resides within the tree of life. The serpent is the guide to each Yew collectively, leads the Jewish nation from the abyss upward into godhood. Inside the circles are the names of the Kabbalistic deities Jews often pray to when they have mental holy sex with the Judaic gods and goddesses. This is what those little black prayer boxes are actually representing, folks. Kabbalistic prayer worship to Leviathan, the serpent from the abyss. Now, the Jews would have us believe that there's something sacred about the Western Wall, and that's a remnant of the Second Temple, and they're wrong. The Wailing Wall is actually a remains of the Roman fortress, Fort Antonia, built in a actual temple. There's no protruding rock ever existed or was ever built on the Gihon Springs. The rock, which was the dome of the rock, was built adjoined to the Western Wall, was actually the centerpiece around which Fort Antonia was built. There's nothing sacred about this rock or wall. Again, just showing the Baphomet's in the Vatican. When you look back and forth, connecting to both the snake and to Baphomet. This is in the little place where he gives his speeches. The mirror image shows that it's Baphomet, basically.
That's crazy that doesn't get more attention.
If you don't see it, you don't know. But that's what I'm saying, guys. So Jesus would be Tammuz in Catholicism. The Queen of the Heavens, Mary, in the 1950s, 1950 to 54 in October, they changed Mary's name to the Queen of the Heavens. So that's automatically Semiramis, or Nimrod's wife. And who's Nimrod then? Well, Nimrod would be Dispatar. Saint Peter, Dispatar. Dispatar was the Latin sky god of the underworld. Saint means to be set apart. Dis means to be set apart. Latin sky god of the underworld. Who do we meet at the pearly gates, allegedly? Saint Peter. Patar. Bacchus Patar. Again, you see the equivalence. It's there, folks. Again, you see the chakra. It's very similar to looking like the spheres of the Tower of Babel. Trying to hurry it up because we're going a little bit. So the Kether is the top part. This is where we're connecting to a certain thing that just happened in 2020. What is the Keter? Now, the Keter is a beautiful K name for boys, borrowed from Hebrew, meaning crown. This is the very top of the Kabbalistic tree of life. What's at the very base? The Malkut. You know what the Kether is known in Latin? Corona.
Oh, wow.
Huh? You ascended. How do you feel, baby? And again, don't take my word for it. You can go to etymoline.com. You can go to Collins Dictionary or Merriam-Webster, and you will find that it connects to a garland or crown. So here we go, folks. They're putting him on the cross. And what did they put on his head? A spiked crown. What was corona known? It was known as a spiked virus. And it's corona-like circle, light appearing around the sun. Okay? You want to be our sun god? You want to be our Hermes imposter? Okay, we'll give you a spike crown. You want a spike crown? Spike crown. Here's your corona. They're mocking him, folks, but did you understand the mockery? Again, what was Hermes known? For the Caduceus staff, god of healing. Heal thyself, healer. Come down from the cross. You getting it, folks? You get the mockery now? You want to be on a tree of life? You want to be Tammuz? Well, that's him. You're on his altar. How do you feel? You're all sprawled out. Where's your wisdom now? They're mocking him, folks. Do you understand now what he went up against? And what do they call him? This is why I call it the king of the Yews. They're mocking him. Do you understand the mockery now? So if you didn't understand that, you don't understand modern Z's. You don't understand the occult, but now you do. Do you understand what he did? They're over here saying, no, no, no. We can ascend to become our own gods. We can reach our own corona. No. So what happens? He dies. Yeah. What happens? He comes back. Way, truth, life. Not regenerated, not reincarnated, resurrected. And you want to know why? Because I got the proof. I got the scars. You see the holes. Do you get it? And what happened? What happened? What do they say? He said, when we get to the Melkut and we get to this verse that was in Genesis 3:15, he shall bruise your head and you shall bruise his heel. He crushes the snake's seed. Why? Because Golgotha is known as the place of the skull, which is alleged where David buried Goliath's skull. So he crushed the Nephilim seed and what happened? He nailed it there. He nailed it to his feet, nailed to the cross for you and for me. And folks, again, and I was explaining before to Alex, but just giving more clarity. This is what it meant when Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so shall the Son of Man be lifted up, that whoever believes in him shall have eternal life. You want to believe these poisonous ideologies from your false god, Thoth, and lift him up above me? Get rid of those poisonous ideologies of vipers. Come back to me. This is how it's done, not through the pagans. You guys like them so much? Fine. I'll do a parody, but mine's going to be the right way. You only get real life and truth through me, not through their poisonous ideologies. Get rid of that. So, what am I going on with here? Okay, what's right underneath Corona? Something that's balancing up. We get a term, Solei, soli. Soli is another dictionary variation of solus. And the solus is a broad muscle in the lower calf below the gastrocnemius and flexes of the foot pointed downward. So basically, it's like the Achilles heel. It's in the heel region.
Hmm.
What are we known as right now? You know, you flip that upside down. They get their Melkut now atop. They want Daniel's statue in Daniel chapter 2, the vision. They want the golden Babylonian age back among us. They want the prize. They want the golden era. And what does God say? And in contrast, it's actually empire of iron and clay. You're mixing with machines. It's nothing. And I'm going to crush the Melkut's empire. What did I just show you was Melkut? Yeah. And he's going to crush the feet. What were they holding this up under? The corona. Is the corona the mark? No, no, no. I think that's just the laying the ground basis. But guys, do you see it? It's coming to crush the heels. And what's Trump selling right now, folks?
Shoes.
Some shoes. It's $3.99. When you add that all together, you get 21, 3. So 21, 2 plus 1 equals 3. Try Hermes again. And guys, look, selling shoes on the verge of the empire of iron and clay. And they're hermetic shoes because they got a wing on them. Just like I got over here on the far right, if you can visually see, Hermes has got a little wing on his heel, the same heel as Melkut. And again, what's the numbers add up to? 4 and 5 equals 9. What's your two legs? The two pillars of Freemasonry.
Hmm.
Are you walking the walk? You walking the path? 9/11? The two pillars being the two legs of Babylon before they fall? New Babylon? So, folks, here, Kundalini, Uraeus, Caduceus, whatever you want to call it. The Lord said, woe to the worthless shepherd who deserts the flock. May the sword strike his arm and his right hand and his right eye. May his arm be completely withered and his right eye totally blinded. And this is Zechariah 11:17. When the occult's blocking up that one eye in those creepy photos, do you get what they're saying? They're saying, my shepherd is the goat, the greatest of all time. Who's affiliated with that big time? Trump's the greatest. Yeah, uh-huh. Or all your little celebs, all your stars of Hollywood. What did I tell you? They want to ascend to become stars, like the most. Hollywood connects to the Druids, tree worship, folks. And you're bringing that into your home every Christmas? Immortality? Well, I do. God knows my. Oh, he knows your heart, all right. It's deceitfully wicked. Well, you don't know what you're doing. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Kabbalah means traditions, folks. If you watch the Fiddler on the Roof, singing in the beginning, tradition, da 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 da, and he goes, looks at the camera. What is tradition? Well, I will tell you. I don't know. But is it important? Guys, do you know why you do the things you do? Hosea, my people perish for lack of knowledge, and because you rejected knowledge, I will reject you for being my priest. That temple veil was ripped in two so you could be indwelled and become, don't you not your body is a holy temple. Greater is he that is within you. Guys, and again, what did I tell you? Jesus is known as the good shepherd for his sheep. Dumazid, Tammuz, shepherd of goats. Tammuz, again, what's his equivalent? Right over here, down on the bottom, like I said before, Adonis, a Greek. That's the root word for Donald. Double times. Again, I'm wrapping up, but again, guys, I'm talking about the things of this world. You got Lot's wife. What does she do? She wanted the things of this world one last time. So what does she do? She looked back.
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to be the salt and light in this world. We're not supposed to hide it under a candle. And you're looking back at the materialism just one last time. No, the world behind me, the cross before me. You have to pick up your cross. You understand what Christ did for you? He defeated that. You didn't understand it, but now I'm telling you. And what did the servant do? I hid my talent because I didn't understand. I thought you'd be mad if No, I'm more upset of people who didn't use what I gave them. Pick up your cross, you lazy servant, or get out of my presence. If anything, I want you to sell all you have to buy that field because that's what's more important. And then we get the rich man. I already obey all those laws. What else do I got to do? Get rid of your coins. I can't do that. Yeah. It's easier for the camel to go through the eye of a needle. Yeah. Guys, what do we get with Trump? Bring back our jobs, bring back our country. No, no, no. It's not about the things of this world. You get rid of that. Who is the originator of coinage? Hermes, Tammuz, digital currency. It's all a lie. It's all to hold you there. And here we go. You see all this equivalence right there, even fake baby, fake Jesus. I could go through a whole thing of what's on his chest symbol, but let's just go with this verse, folks. Love not the world, neither the things that are of this world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of this world. Do you see what they're all pointing to? Earth. Ah, ah, staying alive. You're loving the things of this world. And 1 John 2:15 through 17 states it plainly. Do not love the things of this earth, because that is not of God. But they love it. The magician. Are you falling for the great magician? What again, MAGA means? Mage, great illusionist. And I told you that connects right back to Tammuz. You want to be part of that empire iron and clay? Transhumanism that Musk and all his friends are saying that you can ascend to be like the God Most High that Baphomet said. I don't want that for you folks. This is the last slide. But again, what was the lie in the Garden of Eden? We will be like gods. AI. Do you know what the root word or the root thing that controls our internet? What I remember it was dead for corpse, a net, something to restrain. It's known as demon. Musk already said we are summoning the demon. Guys,
Just a coincidence, right, Brandon?
American Idol, AI. Yeah, guys. And what does Herma's name roughly translates to? His Highness, the hero of divine ordinances of eternal youth. So all I'm laying out, folks, know why you do what you do. Understand what the meaning of the Christmas tree is. You worship their Messiah every time you bring that in your house. If you didn't know, it's okay. Now you do. But go forth and sin no more, basically, is what I can say. I love you guys. Hope you're paying attention. That's all I got, Alex. I'm sorry it was long, but I hope it's worthwhile.
No, thank you so much. Where can everybody find you?
They can find me mainly on Rumble. You can find some of these on YouTube, varying if I get the format right for uploading, and its content is not so extremely controversial. Manna Daily Podcast, Manna, as in manna in the Bible, so two N's. And then you can find me, like my last name, Kroll, Ology, _101. You can also find me on Patreon. You can support through Cash App or that. I would appreciate it. I threw everything I got into this ministry, so I do see it as a digital missionary, and I thank hosts like Alex and whatnot who invite me on. I know I sound long-winded and I can kind of a little crazy, but I'm just trying to help edify the brethren as long as we can.
Well, the beautiful thing about listening to a podcast is you can break it up into bite-sized chunks when you're driving
Yes.
and walking your dog, like what I do with my little bit of time in a day. But
Yeah.
no, I appreciate everything, Brandon. And man, I have a lot to chew on. And like I said, it's it's sad. To me, a lot of this is sad that so many religions, so many things that were meant to be good got hijacked along the way. And I mean, you can see it. You can see it when you start digging,
Yeah.
and it's not to say that the people who are following are evil,
Right.
and it's not to say that we should kill them all, or if
No.
anything, we're trying to show like, man, we're all the same. We all want peace. We should like, why are you cheering for blood? Like in
Yeah.
that Trump clip. That is the thing that really bothers me. We should be praying for peace for everyone, for us to all come together. And I
Come to the
think
Father first and foremost. Yeah.
for sure, and I think that's the ultimate message that Brandon is saying.
Mm.
If I do take anything away from what you're saying, is that we all need to come together and wake up and realize that there is a good path. There is a path to take to
It's
get.
narrow and few there be that find it. Yes.
And yeah, I hope, my wish is that a lot more people keep waking up, and I really do feel like this is the age of the awakening.
Yes.
And as sad as it is to see how many people are asleep, um, it is what it is, and we have to move on too, right? Keep learning and just keep doing what we do. It's I don't pretend like I know when the last days are, and I
Right.
don't think you do. And we say, oh, it could be end of times tomorrow, right? I mean, every day is a gift, and I keep seeing this amazing future. And if I happen to get there, great. And if I don't,
Right.
fine. I'm totally cool with it. It's as long as I did what I could today, I'm
Right.
happy. And I put in a honest day's work today, just like you did. We can put our heads down on our pillow, and we did everything we could. So no
Right.
regrets, right, Brandon?
That's right. No regrets. But again, try to, like I said, living word. Try to be the emulating living world. You're carrying that torch for Christ. You're supposed to be the bridesmaids. You're supposed to be lighting the way. So again, what I'm trying to relay to folks is try to point people to the narrow path. It might be hard, but it might be a long segment, but guess what, folks? It's all laid out. It's very thorough. You can cross-reference it yourself. I showed you where you can find the stuff.
Hmm.
So,
The devil's in the distractions. It-
mm,
the devil really is trying to take you away from learning and reading things that matter.
right,
And we have all this Netflix, we have all this crap on YouTube, and it really is a shame. Like I watch my daughters, they waste so much time, just like I do. I waste a good amount of time on my phone too. But to watch all their potential, to all their creativity, all the things that they could do with their time, and for them to waste their times on their phone, I struggle with that, knowing what I know, and still letting them try and grow to be adults, to realize that they're wasting their time, not just be, yelling at them. So it's yeah, we're in this interesting reality. But
be good
yeah,
stewards of our time. That's a big thing.
for sure. But yeah, thanks again so much, Brandon, and look forward to having you again. And I'll definitely put all the links in the show, and everybody will be able to find you. And
Perfect.
definitely donate to Brandon. Keep the party going, because this is his main gig, and
Yeah,
he requires people who value him to show that value.
right.
You give Netflix $20 a month. I mean, buy
Ask
Brandon
for
a cup of
$5.
coffee. Away you
Yeah.
go. But yeah, thanks again, Brandon. And we're gonna
Yeah.
wrap it up. And man, we almost did 4 hours. I think that's my longest
Oh,
podcast ever.
goodness. My bad.
It's all good, man. You take
Uh,
care. And I just wanted to say to all the firmamentalists out there, protect your dome, and we'll see you next time. Peace.